Chapter 166. Su Qinbai was from the Golden Flame sect. Jianghu and the Great Elder had mentioned this to Night Sorrow, mainly to remind him not to get plotted against. From today's arrangement, Night Sorrow could see that the Medicine Valley had begun to control Su Qinbai. Chu Lingxiao taking over the position of Peak Master of the Nineteen Peak was to remove Su Qinbai's real power. Qianwu was the previous Peak Master of the Nineteen Peak. With him assisting Chu Lingxiao, even if Su Qinbai had trusted subordinates in the Nineteen Peak, they wouldn't be able to cause any trouble. In addition, once Su Qinbai arrived at the main peak, he would be under complete surveillance and control. Without a position, it would be impossible for him to mobilize the forces of the Medicine Valley. Night Sorrow was satisfied that Gong Xian taking over the position of Peak Master of the Taishan Peak didn't affect him much. He didn't want anyone to come to the Taishan Peak and order him around. After returning to the Taishan Peak, Tai Tsung arranged for everyone to have a meeting at the Taishan Peak. Night Sorrow and the others sat in the main hall. 13 You're going to Danding Peak. If you don't have any objections, pack up and go there later, Gong Xian said to Night Sorrow. Eldest senior brother, why? Why doesn't the Taishan Peak want me? Upon hearing Gong Xian's words, Night Sorrow was so agitated that his eyes turned red. To him, the Taishan Peak was his home. 13 What are you thinking? Master is worried about you, so he wants to bring you there. How can we not want you? Gong Xian stood up and hugged Night Sorrow, patting Night Sorrow's back. I'm not going. I'll tell Master that I'll be fine at the Taishan Peak, Night Sorrow said after taking a deep breath. Yeah, I'll tell Master too. We'll take good care of 13, always said. That's fine. Actually, I can't bear to part with 13 either, Gong Xian said with a smile. Alright then. If not, your junior master will go talk to your revered master. When you're free, junior master can just run to Danding Peak a few more times. Tai Tsung chuckled. Master will agree to it. 13 My little rundown house on Bamboo Forest Peak is yours. Later, I will have someone repair it and build a loft, Gong Xian said. Thank you, eldest senior brother. Night Sorrow bowed. But you have to visit Master more often at Danding Peak. Every time he goes there, he won't feel at ease without a single disciple by his side. Gong Xian reminded Night Sorrow. Don't worry, eldest senior brother. We will all go, always said. Really, this valley head position means nothing to Master. He might as well live comfortably at Taishan Peak, Yang Lei mumbled. Yang Lei, you can't say such nonsense. You're an elder now, do you understand? Tai Tsung glared at Yang Lei. After the meeting at Taishan Peak, Jianghu returned with the Great Elder. Gong Xian, is there a problem? Jianghu sat down and asked Gong Xian. No problem. It's just that 13 still wants to stay at Taishan Peak, Gong Xian said as he stood up. That's fine too. If there's any problem, you can find me at Danding Peak. Jianghu looked at Night Sorrow and said. Master, I can't bear to leave Taishan Peak. This place is like home. But I will visit Danding Peak often, Night Sorrow said guiltily. I understand your feelings. I can't bear to leave this place either, Jianghu nodded at Night Sorrow. Valley Lord, in terms of the ability to teach disciples, there are many more people in the Medicine Valley who are more outstanding than you. However, the achievements of this disciple are unparalleled in the Medicine Valley. No one can deny this fact, the Grand Elder said with a smile. He had already changed the way he addressed Lu Yangyu and no longer called him by his name. How should I put it? It's mainly because these kids are hardworking. They don't want me to lose face. Rather than saying that I've taken in disciples, it's better to say that I've taken in a group of children. Yangyu looked at his disciples proudly. That makes sense. It's the truth, Great Elder nodded. After staying for a while, Yangyu left. Although the conflict between the Medicine Valley and the Golden Flame sect had been resolved, he had just taken over as the valley head and there were still a lot of things to deal with. Night Sorrow asked Gong Xian if the Spirit Gathering Array would be activated this year and if he could still enter. Looking at Night Sorrow, Gong Xian smiled. It's activated. New disciples and those who haven't entered the core condensation stage can enter the Spirit Gathering Array. After receiving Gong Xian's reply, Night Sorrow was very happy. He had a plan. Night Sorrow, Yang Lei and Always stayed at the Taishan Peak for a while before leaving for Danding City. When they arrived at the gate of Danding City, Night Sorrow and Aoi were about to land Tianyu and the Azure Condor. However, Yang Lei stopped them. There's no need to land. Just fly. I've already ordered that the Azure Condors can fly in Danding City. Night Sorrow and Tianyu can also fly. I've also drawn a portrait of them and sent it out. You can do that? Night Sorrow looked at Yang Lei in surprise. I'm the city lord. Whatever I say goes. It's good to have power, Yang Lei said domineeringly. Sixth senior sister, I have some doubts. Is it a mistake for the sect to arrange for ninth senior sister to be the city lord of Danding City? Night Sorrow said with a smile. 13, what do you mean? Are you doubting your ninth senior sister's ability? If anyone dares to cause trouble in Danding City, I'll just kill them. That's my ability, Yang Lei glared at Night Sorrow and said. 13, do you know that in the future the disciples of Taishan Peak will be highly valued in the Medicine Valley? Not for anything else but for their domineering aura. It's a kind of spiritual inheritance, Always said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow agreed with what Always said. A force needed a leader like that. When they arrived at Yang Lei's mansion, it was getting late. Always and Night Sorrow stayed at Yang Lei's mansion. Tomorrow was the beginning of the month. Night Sorrow planned to go out early to do missions and earn points as soon as possible. That night, Yishang didn't cultivate. He just lay on the bed and slept. He was a cultivator who had been forced to sleep by Yang Lei. Meditating meant resting, but he still didn't really relax mentally. Always and Yang Lei drank tea for a while and decided to rest. Before they went to sleep, they went to Night Sorrow's room. Night Sorrow fell asleep on the bed with his clothes on. He did not even cover himself with the quilt. You really don't know how to take care of yourself. Yang Lei shook her head and gently covered Night Sorrow with the quilt. LTI-K. After covering Night Sorrow with the quilt, Yang Lei and Aoi went to rest. Night Sorrow woke up early. After greeting Aoi and Yang Lei, Night Sorrow rushed to Tianji Tower. The mayor's mansion was relatively close to Tianji Tower. It was only a few steps away. When Night Sorrow arrived, Tianji Tower was not open yet. Night Sorrow waited at the entrance. While he was waiting, enlightenment arrived with the disciples of Danding Peak. Chapter 167. Oh, enlightenment, you guys are here too. You're all early, Night Sorrow greeted them. We have to be early. Now everyone is fighting for missions because of Martial Uncle. Martial Uncle, leave the normal black iron missions to us. Enlightenment said helplessly. Okay, I'll try my best to take bronze missions. Night Sorrow nodded. He didn't have the energy to do too many black iron missions. Tianji Tower hadn't opened yet, but many people had already arrived. Almost all of them were disciples of the Medicine Valley. When they saw Night Sorrow, their eyes turned a little blue. Martial Uncle, you're here. Xuanhuan also came. Oh, you're here for missions too? Night Sorrow greeted Xuanhuan. Yes, I was chased out by my uncle to practice combat. I didn't receive any missions a few days ago. I asked around and heard that a new mission will be released at the beginning of the month. Yes, it's easier to take missions at the beginning of the month. Night Sorrow nodded. Just as they were talking, Tianji Tower opened. Enforcer Dong stood in the hall. He knew that Night Sorrow would definitely come at the beginning of the month. Line up according to the rules. Enforcer Dong shouted when he saw so many people. Hearing Enforcer Dong's words, Enlightenment and Xuanhuan stood behind Night Sorrow. None of the disciples of the Medicine Valley stood in front of Night Sorrow. This was a form of respect. It had nothing to do with the second-generation disciples of Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow came to Enforcer Dong and said, I'm here to take a mission. Enforcer Dong smiled and nodded. He handed the bronze and black mission lists to Night Sorrow. At the same time, the receptionist took notes with a pen and paper. They all knew that Night Sorrow was definitely not taking a mission. Night Sorrow took the bronze mission list and started pointing. Then he glanced at the two black iron missions. Seeing Enlightenment and Xuanhuan staring at him, Night Sorrow put down the black iron mission list and continued to take bronze missions. After accepting 7 bronze missions in one go, Night Sorrow was finally done. Be careful when you go out. If you have time, let's drink together. After saying goodbye to Xuanhuan and Enlightenment, he turned and left. Senior brother, Uncle Master has taken on so many bronze missions. Can he complete all of them with his cultivation base? A disciple of the Medicine Valley behind the Enlightenment sect stuttered. Only #Yijing, edition, *8 other V all G, is the pirated edition. Yes, he can complete it. Let's take a look at the black iron mission. Enlightenment patted his junior brother's shoulder. This junior brother had returned to his hometown some time ago and didn't know about Night Sorrow's deeds. The Enlightenment didn't mention it either, mainly because they wanted to deal a blow to him. After leaving the Tianji Tower, Night Sorrow got on Tianyu's back and flew directly. This was the benefit of having a senior sister as the city lord. Night Sorrow's name, Tianyu, was noted in Danding City. This was a privilege that even the elders of the Medicine Valley didn't have. Night Sorrow planned to use this time to consolidate his cultivation base. His cultivation base had improved a little recently and was not far from a breakthrough. Night Sorrow's bronze missions were not difficult. Only one of them was more difficult. It was to hunt down a rapist in the early stage of the core condensation realm. Night Sorrow wasn't very worried about the rapist's cultivation base. He knew that the rapist's cultivation base was in the early stage of the core condensation realm. Night Sorrow's original plan was to finish the other missions and go back to do the next one. However, thinking that there would be more victims during this period of time, he went to Xianxiang town in the Qianshan city area ahead of time. There was another reason for this choice. Night Sorrow was worried that if he stayed too long, the mission information would be inaccurate. One had to know that people were mobile. If he was late, the rapist might change his location. That would be troublesome. Qianxiang town was a place with beautiful scenery. It was rich in silk, so it was relatively prosperous. Because of the importance of business development, there were relatively few cultivators. This was also the reason why the rapist committed crimes here. Night Sorrow went directly to the mayor's house to understand the situation. Night Sorrow found out that a girl had been defiled the day before yesterday. This rapist came out almost every few days. Moreover, the mayor was very sure that the rapist was in Qianxiang town. This was because the strong men in the town formed a patrol team and checked people coming in and out. Night Sorrow believed this. Qianxiang town was a town with only one road in and out. It was surrounded by lakes. Could be said that it was a town on water. Outside the lakes were mulberry fields where people worked. The rapist's cultivation was at the early core condensation realm. It was impossible for him to escape the patrol team's detection and leave the town. Mayor, there aren't many people in the town. Can't we investigate? Night Sorrow asked. Then the mayor's answer made Night Sorrow understand why the rapist was so difficult to catch. It was because this was a trading town. There were many restaurants and inns. It was very difficult to investigate. The mayor's answer made Night Sorrow have some doubts. There are many strangers and merchants coming in and out. How can you be sure that the rapist is still here? We have indeed taken strict precautions. We don't let strangers in or out. Those who let them in are merchants who have dealt with us for a few years. If it was a bad guy, he wouldn't have waited until today to make trouble. The mayor said. Well, that means that the rapist might still be here. Haven't you thought of a way? Night Sorrow asked. We thought about it. We even put a bounty on him. Several people came, but they could only see his shadow. They couldn't catch him at all. They said that he seemed to be wearing a fur coat, but we haven't seen anyone wearing a fur coat in our town. The mayor said. I'll try my best. Night Sorrow nodded to the mayor. It was already late. Night Sorrow went to the tallest watchtower in the town to meditate. At the same time he also let out Tianyu. After meditating for the whole night, he didn't find anything. However, Night Sorrow wasn't discouraged because the town was safe last night. In other words, the rapist didn't appear. After dawn, Night Sorrow stopped cultivating and went to find the mayor. He planned to see the victims. When he heard that Night Sorrow wanted to see the victims, the mayor's expression changed. He shook his head and said, It's very tragic. Not only did they lose their virginity, but their bodies were also badly scratched. 2 of them even had their faces disfigured. You can catch them if you can. Don't ask any more. The mayor's tone was a little unlucky. He didn't believe Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was young. Compared to other cultivators, his appearance was much worse. Okay. I don't see the victims. Then I'll ask if there are any other strange things in the town. Night Sorrow also saw the mayor's impatience. Well, they just lost some food, some ducks or something. After glancing at Night Sorrow, the mayor directly left. He also invited other cultivators. Seeing the mayor's attitude, Night Sorrow knew that the investigation wouldn't work. The mayor wouldn't cooperate. He was doing a mission. He couldn't use his identity as a disciple of the Medicine Valley to pressure people. In a situation where there was no other way, Night Sorrow could only wait. He suspected that it was done by outsiders or people in the town. After analyzing the mayor's words, he knew that the rapist didn't kill anyone. Chapter 168. Night Sorrow had to figure out a way himself since the mayor was not willing to cooperate with him. He wandered around the streets casually, checking out the situation in the town. Although it was called a town, Sky Fragrance Town was very developed with 2,000 to 3,000 families. There were inns and restaurants on both sides of the street. It was quite prosperous. On the east side of the town, Night Sorrow felt something unusual. At the same time he saw someone he should not have seen. It was Mrs. Luo from the town where he got the sky-piercing grass. It was Mrs. Luo who got mad when Night Sorrow broke her wall. Mrs. Luo was also surprised to see Night Sorrow. While Night Sorrow was still in shock, Blacksmith also appeared. However, Blacksmith's appearance was very different from before. He was now wearing a loose robe. "Hey, kid, why are you here?" The blacksmith greeted Night Sorrow warmly. "Uncle, why are you here?" Night Sorrow asked. "This is also my home. We just came back yesterday to do some things. What about you? Are you here to catch that flower thief? Come in and have a seat." The blacksmith invited Night Sorrow into the yard. "I'm here for that flower thief. You don't live in that town anymore?" Night Sorrow asked after entering the yard. "We don't live there anymore. The environment here is good, so we moved here," the blacksmith said. Night Sorrow knew that the blacksmith and Mrs. Luo had secrets, but he could not say it out loud. Otherwise it would be meaningless. He took out the last jar of 100 herbs wine and said, "Uncle, thank you for giving me the sky-piercing spear. I have nothing to repay you with, so I can only buy you a drink." "I like your temper. Come, let's drink," the blacksmith said with a smile. After drinking the jar of 100 herbs wine, the uncle's face turned red. This blacksmith uncle loved to drink, but he could not hold his liquor well. "Uncle, take a rest. I still have to look for clues." Night Sorrow stood up and said, "You go to the north. There may be clues there. I was going to take a look. Since you are here, you can handle it." The uncle stood up unsteadily. "I don't have any more of that wine, but I have some other wine here. Leave some for Uncle." Night Sorrow left behind a few jars of wine that he had bought in Danding City, as well as a jar of Uncle Nyo's strong liquor. Only then did he leave. "Second brother, did you see that? That brat's cultivation has risen to a ridiculous level." After Night Sorrow left, the blacksmith uncle rubbed his eyes and said, "Indeed. I've been to many places, but I've never seen a young man like him." Sister Luo nodded and said, "Now that I've met this kid, there's good wine to drink." "Not bad." The blacksmith happily looked at the wine jar left behind by Night Sorrow. "Are we really going to let him deal with that scourge? Could he do it? We don't want to hurt their child." Mrs. Luo looked at the blacksmith worriedly. "If he wants to do the mission himself, then he has to face the possibility of what might happen next. If something happens to him, then it's his fate." The blacksmith turned around and went into the yard. He did not continue the topic. Following the blacksmith uncle's guidance, Night Sorrow arrived at the north side of Sky Fragrance Town. The lake here was relatively shallow and there was a water bamboo forest. Night Sorrow saw scratches on a few of the thicker pillars. Although there were 5 scratches, they did not look like they were made by humans. After looking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that they were left behind by apes. Could it be a perverted ape? Yishang muttered. He was a little shocked. He remembered the mayor's words. All of the victims had been scratched. With the blacksmith uncle's guidance and the traces here, he came to a different conclusion. It was not easy to investigate in the water bamboo forest, so Night Sorrow did not continue to investigate. Instead, he moved some distance away and began to wait. After knowing that the blacksmith and Sister Luo were not ordinary people, Night Sorrow chose to trust them. After finding a suitable place to wait, Night Sorrow sat down cross-legged and did not move. He knew that both the flower thief and the perverted ape would only take action at night. There were fewer people in the north side of the town, so no one noticed Night Sorrow. He cultivated until night time. At night, Night Sorrow took out his reincarnation spear and hid behind a bamboo bridge. He did not know if the situation would happen tonight, but waiting was his only choice. In the middle of the night, with the invasion of the night wind, a situation occurred. The water bamboo forest swayed, and a black shadow scuttled out from the forest and entered the town. Night Sorrow followed closely behind. He was almost certain that the black shadow was the culprit, but he still could not make a move. He had to confirm it first. After entering the town, the black shadow shuttled back and forth in the streets and alleys. Sometimes, it would even run on the roofs at an extremely fast speed. If Night Sorrow did not use the dragon leap steps, he would have lost it. And this was not the full speed of the black shadow. Soon after, the black shadow entered a courtyard and did not come out. Night Sorrow also jumped over the courtyard wall and entered. Ah! At this moment, a scream came from the courtyard. Stop! Night Sorrow's body flashed and broke the window of the room with a kick. At the same time he shouted loudly. V Yong, Z long time free of charge, read 2 novels. After kicking open the window, Night Sorrow saw the situation in the room with the help of the candlelight in the room. Just as he estimated, it was really a white fur perverted ape. At this moment, it was pressing down on a naked woman and was about to rape her. The woman was already unconscious. Seeing Night Sorrow, the white perverted ape pounced towards Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow brandished the reincarnation spear in his right hand and stabbed towards the white perverted ape. At this moment, there were two figures on the bamboo not far away from the courtyard. They were none other than the blacksmith and Sister Luo. The blacksmith and Sister Luo had communicated that the mission was Night Sorrow's responsibility. Whether Night Sorrow succeeded or failed, they would not care. However, if Night Sorrow failed, this flower-plucking scourge would have to be eliminated. Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear was powerful and heavy, but the white perverted ape was also very ferocious. Most importantly, it was fast. After dodging Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear, it pounced towards Night Sorrow. This was because Night Sorrow had mastered the chasing wind spear art. Thus, the white perverted ape was not able to get close to him. Hearing the sounds of battle, the owner and servants of the courtyard came out with torches. "Back off. All of you back off." Night Sorrow knew that this perverted ape was very ferocious. Even if it did not kill its target woman, it did not mean that it would not kill other people. After shouting, Night Sorrow used the reincarnation spear with one hand. At the same time, he took out a sky-piercing spear. He needed to have equipment for close combat. This white perverted ape was too fast. However, the situation was different from what Night Sorrow had imagined. After seeing other people holding torches, the white perverted ape panicked and jumped to escape. Seeing the white perverted ape running away, how could Night Sorrow let it go? This was his mission. When he jumped up and chased after it, the reincarnation spear shot towards the white perverted ape. Immediately after, he raised his left hand that was filled with the energy of the myriad Tao Tome. Chapter 169. The spear shot out by Night Sorrow's left hand was like a black lightning bolt. It instantly pierced through the air and shot into the back of the white ape. The white ape continued to charge forward. It could be said that the sky-piercing spear was carrying the white ape forward. The power of the spear was exhausted. The white ape continued to run, but it did not have much speed left. Night Sorrow threw out two more sky-piercing spears and killed the white ape that did not dare to fight. How is it? The sky-piercing spear has definitely found a suitable owner in his hands. The blacksmith and Sister Luo had already landed from the bamboo, but they did not approach Night Sorrow. Not bad. This guy is ridiculously strong. He killed it with 3 spears. How terrifying. Although Sister Luo was not satisfied with the blacksmith giving the sky-piercing spear to Night Sorrow, she still had to admit that the sky-piercing spear was fully utilized in Night Sorrow's hands. Along with the noise, the family that was attacked by the white ape came. They held torches and surrounded the white ape that was still twitching. Yes, it is the flower thief. It just came out of your house. Night Sorrow withdrew his reincarnation spear and greeted the slightly fat man in a brocade robe. Thank you, sir. I didn't expect it to be a beast. The fat man kicked the white ape twice. Yes, everyone keep quiet. Otherwise, it will greatly affect the reputation of the other victims. They might not even be able to live. Also, go and find the mayor. Night Sorrow waved his hand and chopped off the white ape's head. Keep your mouth shut. If anyone dares to make a sound, get lost. Now clean up this place and invite Sir to the house for tea. The middle-aged fat man roared at the servants. Not bad. Blacksmith, you have a good eye this time. This child is ruthless, but he is kind-hearted and knows how to think for others. Sister Luo left after she finished speaking. She and the blacksmith wanted to kill the white ape, but now that Night Sorrow had dealt with it, there was no need for them to interfere. Mrs. Luo was satisfied that Yi Shang's words would have a great impact on the other victims. Indeed, if word got out that he had been defiled by a monkey, the victim would not be able to live anymore. The mayor soon arrived, followed by 2 elders. They were all highly respected elders in the town. After arriving, the mayor first apologized to Night Sorrow because he had looked down on Night Sorrow from the beginning. The 2 respected elders also expressed their gratitude to Night Sorrow. Mayor, I'll have to trouble you to give me proof that the flower thief in Qianxiang town has been eliminated, Night Sorrow said to the mayor. No problem, no problem. Bosqua, please entertain the Lord. I'll go and write the certificate. The mayor said with a smile. Now that the problem was solved, he felt relieved. The owner of this house, Mr. Gua, arranged for people to prepare food and wine. At the same time, the woman who had fainted from fright also came out to express her gratitude. Soon, the mayor came out with the written certificate and handed it to Night Sorrow. This matter is over. You can deal with the aftermath. I hope that the flower thief has been killed. There's no need to spread the news of the perverted ape and embarrass everyone, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow's words made the two elders who came with the mayor nod with satisfaction. They also thought so. No one would have thought of the origin of this matter. The previous victims did not say that the flower thief was a perverted ape. After all, it was too embarrassing. Night Sorrow cultivated in the room arranged by Bosqua for a night and planned to leave. When he was about to leave, the mayor and the two elders came with people and gave Night Sorrow several rolls of top-quality brocade and silk. We don't have anything good to thank the Lord. This is the best brocade in our town. It was woven by the best silkworms here dozens of years ago. It is also the best product in Qianxiang town in the past 100 years. We give it to the Lord as a token of our appreciation. The mayor handed several rolls of brocade and silk to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and accepted it. This is what I should do. It's not right to take your brocade. You can take it. After receiving the silk and brocade, Night Sorrow took out 2 gold notes and handed them to the mayor. He did not have the habit of taking advantage of people. This is not appropriate. We want to thank the Lord. How can we accept the gold notes? The mayor waved his hand and did not accept it. How about this? The victims this time are all very pitiful. Give this money to them. Yishan handed the gold notes to the mayor, then cupped his hands and left. Before leaving the town, Night Sorrow went to see the blacksmith and Sister Luo. He had a drink with the blacksmith uncle before leaving Qianxiang town. The following missions were not difficult for Night Sorrow. In less than 10 days, Night Sorrow returned to Danding City. In these 10 days, Night Sorrow had experienced many battles and cultivated his Zhen Qi to the peak of the 5th level of Qi Gathering Realm. His myriad Dao Tome also reached the peak of the 3rd level of Muscle Strengthening Realm. Enforcer Dong looked at Night Sorrow taking out one mission item after another and his eyes were full of praise. Even those in the late stage of Qi Gathering Realm and the early stage of Core Formation Realm did not have such speed. After receiving the mission points, Night Sorrow found that he was not far away from getting full points for the bronze token. He estimated that he would be able to do it after one more sweep. However, he did not plan to continue doing missions. There were no good missions in the second half of the month. Besides, he also wanted to break through. After leaving Tianji Tower, Night Sorrow went to Yang Lei's mansion. However, Night Sorrow did not see Yang Lei. He did not know where Qiushua was either. Night Sorrow went to the mayor's mansion and asked. They said that she was patrolling. At this time, Danding City was very lively. This time, the Medicine Valley wanted to recruit disciples. All the cultivation seedlings in the region had come. Some families and small forces wanted their disciples to enter the Medicine Valley. That way they would have a higher chance of becoming outstanding. Not seeing Yang Lei, Night Sorrow returned to the Longquan courtyard on the Tianyu. After returning to the courtyard, Night Sorrow saw Aoi and Yang Lei drinking tea in the garden. At the same time, they were training Chu Ning and the other 3rd-generation disciples. There were vines beside Yang Lei. Ninth senior sister, I went to ask. They said that you were patrolling. Night Sorrow said as he sat down. Yes, as long as I'm not in the mayor's mansion, I'm patrolling and checking on the situation in Danding City. Yang Lei nodded and said with a smile. Not bad. Ninth senior sister is good. Night Sorrow gave Yang Lei a thumbs up. Did the mission go well? Aoi poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow. It went well. When I have time, I'll finish another mission. Then I should be able to reach silver rank. Night Sorrow nodded. Z update? Hurry up. You're really fast. You made those core condensation cultivators feel bad. As far as I know, you're the 11th senior brother. Yang Lei said with a smile. That's because 11th senior brother doesn't like to do missions. Hai Luo, make some food. I'm starving. Night Sorrow shouted at Hai Luo and Luo Wei. After that, Night Sorrow took out the brocade and silk he got from Qianxiang town and gave them to Aoi and Yang Lei. However, he kept one for Sikong Chuyu. Chapter 170. Night Sorrow told them about the mission he received from Tianxiang town, and also told them about the blacksmith who gave him the sky-piercing spear. I told you that guy isn't an ordinary person. However, he doesn't have any ill intentions towards you, Aoi said. After eating with everyone and playing with the silver fox cub and Chanyu for a while, Night Sorrow went into seclusion. This 13, I really have to hand it to him. He's going crazy, Yang Lei said with a sigh after finding out that Night Sorrow was in seclusion. I remember that he asked eldest senior brother if he would open the spirit gathering formation after taking in new people. I think he's planning to eat the origin increasing pill before entering the spirit gathering formation. Master's requirement is for him to eat one origin-increasing pill when he's in the 7th level of element gathering formation. His goal is very likely to be to eat the origin-increasing pill, advance to the 8th level of element gathering formation, then enter the spirit gathering formation, always said. If he's really going according to his plan, then he's really going against the natural order. Yang Lei felt that Aoi's words made sense and felt that Night Sorrow might be planning to do so. In the room, Night Sorrow ate the highest grade origin gathering pill, and his true chi vibrated his dantian, expanding the capacity of his dantian. This was the basic process of advancing. Night Sorrow's dantian had accumulated enough true chi. Previously he had worked hard to complete missions and his cultivation was also very solid. As his true chi vibrated, the space in his dantian also became bigger and bigger. Even though there was enough space to condense the 6th energy halo, Night Sorrow did not stop his true chi vibrating. The bigger the space in his dantian, the more true chi it could store. After expanding his dantian to the limit, Night Sorrow began to condense the true chi halo. With enough true chi, Night Sorrow did not have to worry about failure when condensing the true chi halo. After 2 hours, the 6th true chi halo appeared. He controlled his true chi and condensed the 6th true chi halo. After 1 hour, the true chi halo began to rotate on its own. At the same time, Night Sorrow's chi became slightly stronger. The automatic rotation of this halo meant that Night Sorrow had entered the 6th level of element gathering tier. After stabilizing his cultivation base until dawn, Night Sorrow came out of his room. 6th level of element gathering tier. To go from the 3rd level of refining tier to the 6th level of element gathering tier in a year's time, this is too inspiring. You will become the idol of the new disciples of the sect. Yang Lei said. It was impossible for Night Sorrow to advance any further before the disciple recruitment ceremony. There were only 10 days left, so Yang Lei said this. A year ago at this time, 13 hadn't started cultivating yet, right? Aoi asked with a smile. They knew a little about Night Sorrow's past. Before Night Sorrow came out of Xuanhuan village, he was just a young hunter in the mountains and did not officially practice martial arts. I've started training. This time last year, I was already on my way from Red Flame City to Danding City. That's right. After stabilizing our cultivation for a few days, we'll return to the Medicine Valley, said Yang Lei. I understand. Actually, the disciple recruitment ceremony has nothing to do with me, said Night Sorrow. Indeed, but since you have contribution points, you can go to Danding Cliff to cultivate. That place tests one's limits and is very beneficial for one's cultivation, said Yang Lei to Night Sorrow. Then I'll go try it out later. Night Sorrow was very interested in this. He knew that he had some sect contribution points. The sect would give some contribution points to the king of the newcomers and the first place of the Yuan ranking. After chatting and drinking tea with Yang Lei and Aoi for a day, Night Sorrow continued to break through at night. He wanted to break through to the 4th level of the tendon strengthening tier of the Myriad Dao Tome and strengthen the dragon tendons on his back. The energy of the Myriad Dao Tome entered the tendons on his back, bringing about bone-piercing pain to Night Sorrow. Beads of sweat rolled down his face. Everyone was born with bones and tendons. Now that he had to forcefully channel energy into them, the pain was unimaginable. Night Sorrow endured the bone-piercing pain and continuously channeled energy into the tendons on his back, strengthening them bit by bit. This process was both painful and long. 2 hours, 4 hours. The intense vibrations of the tendons caused Night Sorrow to feel as if the muscles on his back were about to be torn apart. In the middle of the night, Night Sorrow finally finished strengthening the tendons on his back. Opening his eyes, Night Sorrow touched his back and felt it was sticky. Using the candlelight, Night Sorrow confirmed that it wasn't an illusion. The skin on his back had truly been torn apart and his fingers and palms were covered in blood. Without getting up, Night Sorrow ate a peak-grade energy-gathering pill and cultivated the Sage Cauldron scripture. At the same time, he stabilized his cultivation of the Myriad Dao Tome and healed the injuries on his back. It wasn't until dawn that Night Sorrow got up. He took a robe and went downstairs intending to take a shower and change. After a night of energy circulation, the wounds on Night Sorrow's back had already healed. When he walked out of the hall, he saw Aoi. What are you doing? Where did the blood come from? Seeing the blood stains on Night Sorrow's white robe, Aoi frowned and asked. It's nothing. It's just a small problem when I was cultivating. Night Sorrow nodded towards Aoi and went to take a shower and change his clothes. When Night Sorrow returned, Aoi and Yang Lei were both sitting in the hall. Both of them had serious expressions on their faces, as if they were about to start a trial. Most see new chapter EB upper X. I was cultivating last night to strengthen the dragon tendons on my back. The flesh on my back was a little torn, but it's fine now. Night Sorrow stretched and said, "Okay. Be careful and take care of yourself. Seems like you've improved quite a bit." Yang Lei checked and found that Night Sorrow's blood was vigorous. There was no stagnant blood in his body. "I improved a little last night." Night Sorrow nodded. "Your cultivation intensity is too high. You have to rest today. Let's go fishing. Since you've caught the least amount of fish, we'll eat by ourselves," Yang Lei said. "Ninth senior sister, is your cooking edible?" Night Sorrow smiled and asked. "You bastard. How dare you talk about your ninth senior sister like that? Sixth senior sister, tell me, what do you think of my cooking?" After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yang Lei pinched Night Sorrow's waist hard. 13, you can't doubt this point. Your ninth senior sister doesn't easily cook, but the food she cooks is really delicious. In the future, whoever marries her will definitely be blessed," Qing Ji said with a smile. "I really didn't expect that." Night Sorrow rubbed his waist and said, "It's a pity that your ninth senior sister isn't interested in our Taishan Peak's disciples. The disciples of the other peaks all take a detour when they see your ninth senior sister. There's no chance at all," Qing Ji said with a smile. "You will. Sixth senior sister and ninth senior sister will find someone who loves you," Night Sorrow said with a smile. After playing for a day, Yishang went to cultivate. The result of the fishing competition was Yang Lei's loss. Her patience was not as good as Qing Ji's and Yishang's. After stabilizing his cultivation for 2 days, he followed Yang Lei and Aoi back to Medicine Valley. With Yang Lei's company, Night Sorrow went to Danding Cliff. There were 2 days before the apprenticeship ceremony. Night Sorrow wanted to try it out first. Chapter 171. Yishang saw the elder guarding this place in front of a bamboo building at the foot of Pill Tripod Cliff. "Elder, I'm going to cultivate on Danding Cliff." Night Sorrow bowed to the elder whom he had never met before. "Okay. I'll check your name and level." The elder looked at Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow told the elder his name and the mountain he belonged to. Then the elder told him how many merit points Night Sorrow had. Night Sorrow had 300 merit points. Climbing Danding Cliff would cost him 30 merit points. Cultivating for a day would also cost him 30 merit points. Night Sorrow didn't ask how he got his merit points. He nodded to Yang Lei and said, "Senior sister, you can go back first. I want to try my luck here." Yang Lei nodded and said, "Okay. The disciple recruitment ceremony is coming soon. No one will cultivate here and no one will disturb you." Night Sorrow started climbing Danding Cliff as soon as he reached the top. "Ninth brother, the sect has informed us of your situation." "Very good. The future of Medicine Valley depends on young people like you. Whose disciple is he from Taishan Peak? Why is he a heaven-level disciple?" The elder with the aura of sunset asked. "Elder Su, he is my master's 13th disciple. He came here last year to participate in the disciple recruitment ceremony." Yang Lei knew that Elder Su was old and had reached the end of his life. Yang Lei told Elder Su about Night Sorrow's situation. "I remember now. He is the little guy who was at the 3rd level of chi refining last year. He made it to the end by sheer willpower. 1 year, only 1 year, and he has reached this level. I really can't connect the dots. Why is he a heaven-level disciple?" Elder Su was still puzzled, but he knew that the sect wouldn't mess around. There must be a reason why Night Sorrow was treated like a heaven-level disciple. "Well, to be honest with you, Elder, 13 found the lost sacred cauldron scripture in the Medicine Valley." Yang Lei didn't hide anything from this elder. He was already in his twilight years, yet he was still contributing his last bit of strength. This was worthy of respect. "So that's how it is. No wonder the Tianding scripture that the sect gave me is different from before. If he really makes a breakthrough, he will be my benefactor." Elder Su looked at Night Sorrow, who had already begun to climb up Danding Cliff. "Elder Su, don't say that. Everyone knows how much you've done for the sect. You don't owe anyone anything," Yang Lei said. After chatting with Elder Su for a while, Yang Lei left. She knew that Night Sorrow wouldn't come down for a while. Night Sorrow wouldn't let 30 merit points go to waste. In the main hall of Taishan Peak, Xianxia sat in the main seat. The other higher-ups of Taishan Peak were also present. "Gong Xian, the recruitment of disciples at Taishan Peak this time depends on you." "I understand," Gong Xian said. "Ninth brother, 13 went to Danding Cliff and stayed there?" Yu asked. He had just asked and found out that Yang Lei and Night Sorrow had gone to Danding Cliff. "Yes, it will probably take some time." Yang Lei nodded. "Ninth junior sister, Master will take over as Valley Lord tomorrow. Why are you letting 13 stay at Danding Cliff at this time? Gong Xian was a little anxious. It's fine. I've already told the Great Elder and the others that the ceremony can be held at Danding Main Hall. There's no need to be too extravagant. There's no need to be too ostentatious during this critical period. 13 can cultivate at Danding Cliff. I'm happy that all of you are successful, Xianxia said with a smile. Yang Lei lowered her head and didn't say anything. She felt a little guilty. Night Sorrow didn't know about this, but she did. She originally planned to bring Night Sorrow to Danding Cliff to take a look, but she forgot about it when Night Sorrow stepped off the cliff. Ninth brother, you know me. I don't care about formalities. I'm happy that 13 took first place on the Yuan ranking. I'm happy that 11 took first place on the Elixir ranking. What's the use of just congratulating me? Xianxia looked at Yang Lei and said. He could see that Yang Lei was in low spirits. Yang Lei nodded and didn't say anything. Night Sorrow didn't use his cultivation. He used his own ability to climb and directly reached 2,500 meters without any pressure. The scene that made him bleed last year didn't happen. Feeling okay, Night Sorrow continued climbing. When he reached 2,900 meters, Night Sorrow felt a little pressure. The first 100 meters were a natural moat for him last year, but it was nothing now. He used both his hands and feet to reach 3,000 meters. At this moment, Night Sorrow didn't use his true chi or the power of the myriad Dao Tome. His body strength was comparable to a level 9 chi refining cultivator. Elder Su, who was watching from below, was very surprised. He obviously saw that Night Sorrow didn't use his true chi. Above 3,000 meters was a forbidden area for chi refining disciples. Even if they had the ability to continue climbing, they could only reach a height of 3,300 meters. This was the record for chi refining disciples in the Medicine Valley. Yishang took out a wine jug and drank a mouthful of wine. He continued to climb up the stairs one by one until he reached the bottom of the stairs. 3,300 meters, 3,400 meters, 3,600 meters. At 3,600 meters, Night Sorrow started to feel the pressure. If he didn't use his true chi or the myriad Dao scripture's energy, it would be very difficult for him to continue climbing. The pressure from Danding Cliff continued to attack him like waves, trying to push him back. Night Sorrow poured his true chi into his arms and continued climbing. Although it was difficult, it wasn't a problem for Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow lowered his head and rushed up, just like how it was the first time he climbed Danding Cliff. When more than half of his true chi was consumed, Night Sorrow also rushed to the 4,000-meter platform. There was no pressure here, so Night Sorrow meditated to recover. After half an hour, Night Sorrow recovered to his peak and continued to climb up. This time the pressure was greater. Night Sorrow felt a strong pressure when he reached 4,200 meters. Night Sorrow poured his true chi into his body. He roared and rushed up. He wanted to see how far he could go. When there was only a third of his Zhen Chi left, Night Sorrow had rushed past 4,300 meters. At this time he decisively used the myriad Tao Tome's energy. This was because he knew that if he didn't use the myriad Tao Tome's energy, he would only be able to climb to 4,350 meters at most. After unleashing the power of the myriad Dao's tome, Night Sorrow's climbing speed increased once again. One step after another appeared behind him. He's only in the 6th level of element gathering tier, but his blood and chi are boiling. Could it be that he can really break through the shackles of 4,500 meters? Elder Su muttered to himself as he watched from the other side of the mountain peak. I'll update equals. Fastest 3, top W, G_Danding Cliff was a cliff that seemed to have been cut by a knife. Less than 1,000 meters away there was a mountain peak. This mountain peak was not pressurizing, but had beautiful scenery. Chapter 172. When he reached the platform of 4,500 meters, Night Sorrow climbed up with difficulty and laid down on the platform to rest. It was difficult for him to even straighten his body. After resting for a while on the platform, Night Sorrow forced himself to sit up. After taking a medicinal pill, he sat down cross-legged to recover. It was easy to imagine how difficult it was to recover while withstanding the huge pressure. This time Night Sorrow took 4 hours. Standing up, Night Sorrow continued to climb upwards. Even though he had recovered to his peak state, Night Sorrow's climbing speed was not as fast as before. Climbing each step required a huge amount of energy. It was like a person who could run 10,000 meters, but the last 9,000 meters to 10,000 meters was also painful because that was his limit. By the time all the energy in his body was exhausted, Night Sorrow had reached the bottom of the 4,600-meter staircase. Just like last time, Night Sorrow climbed up and laid down on the platform. Withstanding the pressure from the peak, Night Sorrow lay down on the platform and panted heavily. Anyway, he would not fall down if he lay down on the platform. After resting for a while and regaining some energy, Night Sorrow sat down cross-legged and took a medicinal pill to recover. At this time, Elder Su was extremely shocked. He really wanted to go and report to the sect right now. Ever since the establishment of the Medicine Valley, there had never been a disciple of the essence gathering stage who had been able to surpass this height of 4,500 meters. The best disciple had only touched the 4,500 meters of stairs with his hands, but had not been able to climb it. However, Night Sorrow, who was in the element gathering tier, had already reached 4,600 meters. After reaching 4,600 meters, Night Sorrow did not continue climbing, but began to cultivate on the platform. Because the sky had already darkened, Elder Su was a little conflicted. He wanted to report to the sect, but he was also worried that Night Sorrow would continue climbing recklessly. If he fell and no one caught him, he would be dead for sure. When the disciple who delivered the supplies arrived, Elder Su let out a sigh of relief. He hurriedly sent the disciple to the sect to inform the other elders to come. Sitting on the steps, Night Sorrow realized a great advantage. The speed of refining the medicine was extremely fast. Under the pressure from Danding Cliff, the energy in his body naturally resisted, increasing his refining ability. Moreover, the refined energy was also very condensed. A supreme-grade quintessence gathering pill and a leopard embryo tendon strengthening pill took him 4 hours to completely refine them. In the past, Night Sorrow would need an entire night to refine them. Under normal circumstances, Night Sorrow should have recovered to his peak condition after refining a supreme-grade energy gathering pill and a leopard embryo tendon strengthening pill. However, that was not the case now. After resisting the pressure from Danding Cliff, Night Sorrow had only recovered half of his strength. 0ch Original Chapter K, Section N7. When he planned to continue eating pills to refine them, Night Sorrow realized that his body was absorbing the heaven and earth spirit chi very fast. It was not much faster than using pills. When Yishang had used the medicinal pills to recover, he had been fully focused on refining the medicinal energy, so he hadn't noticed it. Now that he had noticed it, he didn't use the medicinal pills. After using 2 hours to recover to his peak condition, Night Sorrow stood up against the pressure. He stretched out his arms and resisted the pressure from the top of the cliff. When he was in high spirits, Night Sorrow punched the top of Danding Cliff, consuming his true chi. Night Sorrow did not know that there were several people watching from the opposite peak. There were the Great Elder, Second Elder, Fourth Elder, Jianghu, Su Chenbai, and the former Valley Master and current Grand Elder Hua Yunpeng. If he doesn't go crazy, he won't live. Valley Master, you've taken in a little madman, said Second Elder Qianwu. What is he trying to do? Lu Qinyun did not understand. He does not want to continue climbing and he wants to continue training. In order to find the feeling, he will consume his true chi, Hua Yunpeng said. After a few dozen punches, Night Sorrow felt that his true chi was being consumed too slowly. He opened his arms and a cyclone appeared in his hands. One hand was true chi and the other was the myriad Tao Tome. Using the Zhenyu hand, Night Sorrow slammed his hands against the wall of Danding Cliff. Bang! Bang! A series of muffled sounds came out, but the wall did not suffer much damage. Only some dust was sent flying. After being eroded by energy for so many years, the rock of Danding Cliff was very hard. After sending out 2 palm strikes, Yishang continued to send out palm strikes. After sending out 4 palm strikes, Yishang could no longer use his Zhen Qi to send out the Zhenyu hand. His Zhen Qi could only support 2 palm strikes. Since he could not use his true Qi, Night Sorrow used the myriad Tao Tome's energy for 2 more palm strikes. After exhausting all the energy in his body, he sat down and continued to train. Valley Master, if I am not wrong, he used 6 Zhenyu hand. Hua Yunpeng looked at Yu Yangyu and said, It's the Zhenyu hand. When I was at rank 3 I started to train it. I could only use 1 palm strike at the beginner level and 2 at the peak of rank 3. Yu Yangyu nodded. He did not refer to himself as I, because there were no outsiders here. He did not need to act like a Valley Master. This little guy has no intention of coming down. Then let him train here. Fourth Elder, you and Elder Su stay here and watch. The Great Elder said. Back at Danding Peak, the Great Elder casually arranged something for Su Chenbai and sent him away. We need to focus on Night Sorrow's cultivation. Most importantly, we need to hide him. I am worried that someone will spread the news of him to the Golden Fire sect. Then it will be easy to kill a genius. The great elder looked at Xianxia and said, I will go and kill that traitor. Second elder Qianwu stood up and said, No need. I have been in seclusion for many years. My cultivation is high enough, but my state of mind is not. Therefore I cannot break through. I will watch over this kid for a while. Hua Yunpeng said, Martial uncle, is this appropriate? Xianxia looked at Hua Yunpeng and asked. Xianxia was 1 generation younger than Hua Yunpeng, so he called Hua Yunpeng martial uncle. There is nothing inappropriate about it. This guy does whatever he wants. I like it. Hua Yunpeng nodded. Knight Sorrow was in high spirits that night. After he had recovered, he went to work on his true qi and the myriad Dao Tome's energy. Then he sat down to cultivate. He was extremely excited. The speed of cultivation was too fast and the results were very obvious. When it was almost dawn, Knight Sorrow started to recover fully. He planned to continue his cultivation when the sun rose. This made Elder Su, who was watching, confused. Fourth Elder, why is he not working on his cultivation? I think he is planning to recover to his peak state and continue his cultivation. We all know that the Valley Master was ruthless when he was young. I didn't expect him to be the same when he took in a disciple. That's not right. He is not ruthless. He is crazy. Lu Qinyun muttered. Lu Qinyun was originally unhappy that his disciple Ao Yushan was suppressed by Taishan Peak. But after Yu Yangyu took over as the Valley Master, his dissatisfaction disappeared. Overbearing? That was because he had the right to be overbearing. Moreover, Ao Yushan was in the wrong. Chapter 173. Today is the Valley Master's inauguration ceremony. Are we not going? Elder Su asked Lu Qinyun. The Valley Master wants us to just go through the formalities. He doesn't want it to be too grand. Let's just watch this kid. If anything happens to him, the two of us will be too ashamed to continue living, Lu Qinyun said, shaking her head. Knight Sorrow's performance made them realize what it meant to the Medicine Valley. It meant that as long as Knight Sorrow continued to grow, his achievements would be limitless. Knight Sorrow, who had recovered to his peak state, continued climbing just as Lu Qinyun thought. Knight Sorrow felt that he could still progress. He wanted to climb to his limit to cultivate. Such a place would have a stronger cultivation effect. When they first came, Yang Lei had told Yi Shang that this was the best place to temper one's cultivation. She and the other senior and junior brothers would sometimes come here as well. Later on, their state of mind couldn't keep up, so they didn't come here to cultivate. Another reason was that sect merit points were too difficult to obtain. It was very difficult to obtain merit points if one wasn't a disciple on the Yuan roll. Knight Sorrow's 300 merit points were the reward for being the new Vanguard King and first on the Yuan roll. Both rewards were only 300 points. One could imagine how difficult it would be for other disciples. Resisting the pressure, Yi Shang continued to climb. Every time he climbed a step, Yi Shang had to use all his strength. Luckily, today is the Valley Master's inauguration ceremony. Many disciples are at Danding Peak. Otherwise, it would definitely cause a commotion, Lu Qinyun muttered. How far do you think he can climb, Fourth Elder? Elder Su asked, looking at Knight Sorrow's figure on Danding Cliff. To surpass one's limits, every meter requires a huge amount of energy. He can reach 4,700 meters. As for 4,800 meters, that's impossible. After all, his cultivation is still too low, Lu Qinyun analyzed after looking at Knight Sorrow's situation. Knight Sorrow was indeed having a hard time. The pressure and energy from the top of Danding Cliff were getting stronger and stronger. Knight Sorrow remembered that in the past, there was only a small amount of pressure and energy. Now, climbing was even harder than when he was training with Yang Lei. The energy was constantly washing over him. Knight Sorrow was still a dozen meters away from the 4,700-meter staircase when his Jin Qi was depleted. Relying on the remaining energy from the myriad Tao Tome and the strength of his body, as well as his indomitable will, Knight Sorrow climbed to the 4,700-meter staircase. Lying on the steps, Knight Sorrow could not even wipe away his sweat. It was no different from being pressed down by a mountain. Knight Sorrow seemed to be stuck to the platform, lying on his stomach to recover his strength. Only when he recovered his strength could he sit up to meditate and recover. After resting for 15 minutes, Knight Sorrow supported himself with both hands on the platform to sit up. Then, withstanding the pressure from Danding Peak, he began to recover and cultivate. This fella is making me so nervous. My heart is clenching. Elder Su sighed. Lu Qinyun smiled and did not say anything. He was the same. After 4 hours, Yi Shan had recovered to his peak state. Only then did he take out a jar of wine and gulp down 2 mouthfuls. To climb or not to climb? This was something that Night Sorrow was rather conflicted about. The cultivation speed here was very fast, but it would be even faster up there. However, the difficulty of climbing up was too great. Right now, he wasn't competing with anyone, so it didn't matter who was better or worse. If he did not want to compete with others, should he compete with himself? After thinking for a while, Yishang gulped down a few mouthfuls of wine. He put away the wine jug and continued to climb. This was a challenge to himself. From 4,700 meters to 4,800 meters, the difficulty was higher than the previous ones. Night Sorrow lowered his head and channeled the energy from the myriad Tao Tome into his arms. He began to climb. By the time he reached 4,760 meters, Night Sorrow had almost used up all of his energy. All the energy in his body and the myriad Tao Tome exploded. Night Sorrow let out a low growl and charged upwards. After pausing for a while, he let out another growl and continued to charge upwards. As he got closer to the 4,800-meter platform, Night Sorrow's condition also deteriorated rapidly. There were only a dozen meters left, but these dozen meters were like a natural chasm. 13. Come on, you can do it. On the peak opposite Danding Cliff, Yang Lei shouted at Night Sorrow. There were others in front and behind her. After the inauguration ceremony, Yu Yangyu, the first elder, the second elder, and even Hua Yunpeng arrived. There were also the disciples of Taishan Peak. Following Yang Lei's shout, the disciples of Taishan Peak also began to shout. Yishang, who had already lost all his strength, took a deep breath and started climbing again. He had to reach the 4,800-meter mark. Master, why don't you let 13 come down? Always eyes were a little red. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who was almost hanging on Danding Cliff, looked so small and pitiful. Gong Xian and the others did not say anything. They had all climbed Danding Cliff and cultivated there. Many disciples of Medicine Valley in the core condensation stage could not reach the 4,800-meter platform. According to the normal calculation of climbing, the peak of the energy gathering stage was 3,000 meters to 4,000 meters, while the peak of the core condensation stage was 4,000 meters to 5,000 meters. There was a history in the Medicine Valley of energy gathering stage climbing 4,500 meters, but that was a very long record. It was set by all the disciples in the peak of the energy gathering stage in the past thousands of years. Currently, 4,200 meters was the limit of the disciples in the Medicine Valley. It's not bad for him, Yu Yangyu said in a low voice. He was also very distressed. Sixth junior sister, let's cheer for 13 together, Gong Xian said to Aoi. Then, under the leadership of Gong Xian, the disciples of Taishan Peak began to shout at Danding Cliff. Night Sorrow, who originally could not hold on, felt the blood in his body boil. He let out a tragic roar and climbed up again. 5 meters, 4 meters, 3 meters. 4,800 meters of stairs was in front of Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow lowered his head and scratched his numb arms with his teeth to keep himself conscious. Then, little by little, he climbed to the 4,800 meters of stairs. The only authentic version of the game, 9%, 8%, 8%, 8%, was a pirated version. Night Sorrow, who was lying on the stairs, did not have any strength left. Night Sorrow, who was worried that he would fall, raised his arm and slapped a sharp rock inside the stairs. With this slap, a cut appeared on Yishang's palm. He was worried that if Yishang relaxed he would fall into a coma, so he used the pain to stimulate Yishang. Night Sorrow, who was lying on the stairs, was like a dead man, recovering his energy and true chi little by little. Half an hour later, Yishang propped himself up on the steps with his bloodied hands and began to cultivate. Fighting with himself, fighting with his predecessors and fighting with the heavens. What an imposing manner. What courage. Hua Yunpeng commented. Valley Master, Grand Elder, Great Elder, tomorrow is the apprenticeship ceremony. Should we ask him to come down? Elder Su asked. Why should we ask him to come down? Many people will come to the apprenticeship ceremony. Let's let the disciples of Medicine Valley see how Night Sorrow cultivates. This is a place that all disciples of Medicine Valley must learn, Great Elder said, leaving no room for negotiation. That's good. He has 300 merit points, which should be enough for a few days, Elder Su said with a nod. Chapter 174. The disciple who broke the record has the right to cultivate at Danding Cliff without using any merit points. I'm so old and muddle-headed. Elder Su slapped his forehead and said, Elder Su, you've worked hard for the Medicine Valley for your whole life. You should have some free time in the future and try to find a breakthrough. The Medicine Valley doesn't want to lose an elder who's devoted to the sect. Xianxia looked at Elder Su with eyes full of respect. Yes, after this year's disciple recruitment ceremony, Elder Su should take a rest. The great elder also nodded. Everyone chatted while watching Night Sorrow recover on the platform. Night Sorrow realized that it was almost impossible to recover to the peak here. Because while recovering, he had to contend with the energy from Danding Peak, which was constantly consuming. However, this kind of cultivation allowed him to improve very quickly. What was consumed could be recovered, but the amount of true qi in his dantian and the energy in his body was constantly increasing. In other words, once he stopped consuming and recovered to the peak state, the improvement in his cultivation would be obvious. This effect was also very obvious in refining the concentration of true qi. Under such high pressure, not only would the true qi be refined, but it would also refine the true qi that he had cultivated in the past. It was the same for the strengthening of his body. The energy in his body was constantly increasing, and it would also refine the energy in his body. After recovering to 90% of his peak state, Night Sorrow stood up and stretched out his arms to welcome the pressure. At the same time he looked down at Danding Cliff. When he found that no one was cultivating, he let out a sigh of relief. It feels good to stand at a high place and look at the scenery. Damn. He climbed so high just to look at the scenery? Chuning couldn't help but complain. Heartless. Yang Lei rubbed her forehead. She was also speechless at Night Sorrow's words. He has a good attitude. He doesn't care about fame or fortune. He just climbed for the sake of climbing. He has grasped the concept of Wu Wei Peak. Hua Yunping said with a smile. After feeling the impact for a while, Night Sorrow looked at the platform. He felt that the platform had a circumference of 1 zhang, which was quite big. He took out his reincarnation spear and practiced his spear art on the platform. I can't watch this anymore. I'm going back to cultivate. Shi Tianlin was somewhat agitated. Valley Master, all of you should go back. I'll stay here and watch over this kid. Hua Yunping said to Xianxia and the others. After that, he disappeared from Night Sorrow's sight and landed on the platform 5,000 meters above Danding Cliff. That works too? Tang Tian's eyes widened to have a great clan elder looking after him. What kind of treatment was that? Why not? You guys are doomed. You guys are getting further and further away from your 13th uncle, Gong Xian said with a sigh. Tang Tian and Chu Ning were somewhat helpless. Night Sorrow's speed was too ridiculous. They were indeed somewhat unable to catch up. They were no longer on the same level. Under the pressure, Night Sorrow executed his chasing wind spear art, perfecting the flaws in his spear art. After he finished practicing his spear art, Night Sorrow executed the Zhenyu hand, exhausting the energy in his body, and then meditated to cultivate. Alright, everyone go back. Tomorrow is the disciple recruitment ceremony. Go do what you need to do. Xianxia and the great clan elders stood up and left. Let's go too. 13th uncle is having too much fun. Who knows how long he'll stay up there for. Yang Lei understood Night Sorrow well. She knew that when Night Sorrow was cultivating he was extremely stubborn and crazy. In a pavilion not far behind Danding Peak's main hall, Su Chenbai's face was cold. Su Mu, who was standing not far from him, was punching and releasing repeatedly. Su Chenbai did not bring any other disciple from Ninein Peak to Danding Peak. He only brought Su Mu to Danding Peak. The reason was that Su Mu had only been in the sect for a short time and needed to be taken care of. Master, I want to go to Danding Cliff another day. If he can reach 4,800 meters, then I want to give it a try. Su Mu's eyes were filled with ferocity. No need. In 2 days I'll send you away to a better place, Su Chenbai said after thinking for a while. Then I'll listen to Master. I don't believe that I can't kill him. Su Mu's words were filled with killing intent. During this period of time, his cultivation had increased rapidly. He was already at the peak of the 8th level of element gathering tier. We'll talk about this later. Don't go to Danding Cliff. Su Chenbai directly interrupted Su Mu. The Medicine Valley's apprenticeship ceremony was held as scheduled. This time there were many people who came to participate. There were thousands of people, which was several times more than last year. The main reason was that the Medicine Valley announced that it would relax the entry requirements. Since there were many people who came to participate in the apprenticeship ceremony, there were also many people who came to watch the ceremony. They all hoped that their own members could enter the Medicine Valley. Some time ago, the Medicine Valley forcefully expelled the Golden Flame sect's influence, which made the Medicine Valley's reputation reach an unprecedented height. This time the host was Yen Beibei. However, all the peak masters also came. The Medicine Valley's development path had changed. It wanted to rise at full speed, so all the peaks had to recruit new people. However, this time the newcomers were mainly from Taishan Peak, North Peak and Crepe Myrtle. The number of disciples in these 3 peaks was less. This was known by all in the Medicine Valley. The apprenticeship ceremony was still the same, but the entry requirements were lowered. The minimum entry requirement to enter the sect was back to the original level of chi refining. The distance of the golden test pillar was also shortened. In addition, the number of laps around Bluestone Peak was also reduced to 14 laps. The climb of Danding Cliff was set at 2,500 meters. As long as one could pass all the tests, he or she could enter the Medicine Valley. This was good news for all the teenagers who came to participate in the apprenticeship ceremony. The chances of entering the Medicine Valley had increased a lot. There were some mistakes in last year's decision. The first elder, who was sitting beside Yu, knocked on the ground with his walking stick and said, "The situation is different. At that time we should have kept a low profile. Now there's no difference between keeping a low profile and keeping a high profile." Yu said. Last year the Medicine Valley didn't have any conflict with the Golden Flame sect. Therefore, keeping a low profile could reduce the hostility of the Golden Flame sect. Now that hostility had arisen and a conflict had broken out, there was no difference between keeping a low profile and keeping a high profile. Whether the entry requirements are lowered or not, the Valley Master has gained a lot. This last disciple is really domineering. Yi Xiling, the Peak Master of Crepe Myrtle, said with a smile. It's not that the disciple is good. It's Night Sorrow's own hard work. Yuan Tai, the Peak Master of Wangyun Peak, said. P Soul, E positive, T version. You, the others are all ex-robbers, T version. After the conflict between the Medicine Valley and the Golden Flame sect, the unity of the Medicine Valley had increased a lot. For example, Yuan Tai and Jean Can, who didn't get along well with Yu, had expressed their goodwill. But sometimes they still had to say a few words. Of course it was harmless. Indeed. 13 has done well. Yu nodded. Chapter 175. You will be shocked tomorrow, the Great Elder said with a smile. He didn't come last year. Otherwise, who knows which peak Night Sorrow is from? Yi Xiling glanced at Yu and said. Ahem. He went to Taishan Peak with the Valley Master, but he went to Crepe Myrtle. Who knows what he looks like now? Duanlei coughed and said. Duanlei, what do you mean? Are you looking down on Crepe Myrtle? Yi Xiling slapped the armrest of the chair and glared at Duanlei. All right, Xiling, why are you still so grumpy? The Great Elder said. Of course, Yi Xiling and Duanlei were just bickering. Yi Xiling glared at Duanlei and didn't say anything. She could throw a tantrum at Duanlei, but she had to respect the Great Elder. While they were talking, the exam was still going on. Soon the first 2 rounds were over and the 3rd round was about to begin. Yen Beibei stood up and announced a new rule. Those who affected others would be eliminated. Because of the precedent of Qin Hai attacking Night Sorrow last year, he didn't want it to happen again. After this round, a portion of people were eliminated. There were still about 2,000 people left. Today's exam was over. The Medicine Valley sent a high-level law enforcement team to patrol the Grass Valley. The team was led by a group of 4th-rank cultivators. They were much stronger than last year. They were mainly worried that the Golden Flame sect would come and cause trouble. Newcomers were the future of a sect. No matter which sect they were in, they would be valued. Night Sorrow was still cultivating. Fortunately, he had wine, meat jerky, and fasting pills in his storage ring. It wasn't a problem for him to stay here for a while. During this time, many disciples of the Yuan Gathering realm came. There were even some in the Core Condensation realm. They all knew that the Yuan Gathering realm record was broken at Danding Cliff. However, they were immediately warned by Elder Su not to make any noise. Now that his cultivation had recovered, Night Sorrow stood up to practice his spear arts and suppressing mountain hands. Now that his Zhen Qi and myriad Tao Tome's energy had been depleted, he continued to meditate and recover. Time meant nothing to him. 5,000 meters above Night Sorrow's head, Hua Yunpeng was quietly meditating. He was well aware of Night Sorrow's situation. He always felt that Night Sorrow was more like a disciple of Wu Wei Peak. He had no distractions. Climbing the Danding Cliff was just climbing the Danding Cliff. He was just looking at the scenery. Records were not important. Now he was cultivating. There was nothing else. When night fell, Night Sorrow became well behaved. He didn't want to accidentally fall because he was practicing his spear arts. If that happened, he would lose his life. He didn't know that he was being protected. Now that he had recovered to his peak condition, He felt that the 2 days of cultivation had been more effective than the past 10 days. Not only had his cultivation increased by a lot, but his true qi and the energy of the myriad Taoist tome had also become more condensed. Night Sorrow, who was in a good mood, took out the only jar of green blood wine he had left. He opened it and poured a bowl for himself. Then he drank it in one gulp. At this time Hua Yunping, who was on the platform, stood up. He also wanted to drink. With 2 flashes, Hua Yunping appeared in front of Night Sorrow. Ah! Night Sorrow was so scared that he took a few steps back. He almost fell off the platform. In the end, he used his hands to support himself on the cliff. Otherwise he would have really fallen off. "You little brat, why are you so cowardly?" Hua Yunping sized up Yishang and said. "You're scaring me to death. I didn't see anyone climbing up from below." Night Sorrow returned to the platform and poured a bowl of wine for Hua Yunping. "I didn't climb up. I flew down from above." Hua Yunping drank a mouthful of wine. Suddenly his eyes widened. The wine was too fragrant and too strong. "Ah, it's the Grand Elder." Night Sorrow didn't pay attention at first. He thought that it was a disciple of the Medicine Valley who was climbing Danding Cliff. But when he paid attention, Night Sorrow realized that he had seen Hua Yunping once. Hua Yunping shook his head. He pulled the hem of his robe and sat down. Then he pointed at Night Sorrow's wine bowl, indicating that Night Sorrow should fill it to the brim. Seeing that Hua Yunping didn't want to talk, Night Sorrow poured the wine for him and drank it himself. After 2 bowls, Hua Yunping exhaled. "This is really good wine. This is the only half jar left. Take it, Grand Elder." Night Sorrow closed the wine jar in his hand and handed it to Hua Yunping. "Do you need my help with anything?" Hua Yunping glanced at the half jar of wine in front of him and asked. "No, I will try my best to do it. This wine is for the elders of the sect." Night Sorrow shook his head and said. "Then what about the things that you can't do?" Hua Yunping asked again. "If I try my best, I can do it. If I can't, then it means that I didn't put in enough effort." Night Sorrow replied. "Cultivate well." Hua Yunping stood up and nodded at Night Sorrow. Then he left in a flash. When he left, he didn't forget to take the half jar of wine with him. He was very satisfied with Night Sorrow's answer. At the same time he was also very shocked. His mind was so pure and stubborn that it was scary. Night Sorrow didn't care about why Hua Yunping appeared. The Grand Elder of the sect was rarely seen. It was normal for him to appear here. After using a few Zhenyu palms to deplete his true qi and the energy of the myriad Tao tome, Night Sorrow continued to cultivate. Xianxia was very rare to increase one's cultivation without any drawbacks. The speed was comparable to the spirit gathering array. Moreover, there were no drawbacks. There were drawbacks to cultivating in the spirit gathering array. Although the cultivation speed was fast, there would be a lack of energy and an unstable foundation. This definitely wouldn't happen at Danding Cliff. He couldn't understand why the Medicine Valley set such a high merit point limit. If the limit was lower, wouldn't the disciples of the sect be able to cultivate quickly without any drawbacks? Although he couldn't figure out these problems, Night Sorrow felt that it was more important to turn the benefits into actual strength. While Night Sorrow was cultivating, Hua Yunping was still drinking on the 5 kilometers platform. He was still thinking about Night Sorrow's words. Simple and direct. Everything could be solved easily. If you didn't succeed, it meant that you didn't put in enough effort. His words were simple and crude. If he couldn't break through, could he do the same? While Hua Yunping was thinking, time passed slowly. He knew that the place he was sitting now would soon be overtaken by the kid below, and even higher. At dawn, under the lead of the higher-ups of the Medicine Valley, thousands of people arrived at Danding Cliff. The members who were going to participate in the assessments stood at the foot of Danding Cliff. Some of the original members of the Medicine Valley went to the mountain peak opposite Danding Cliff because they could see more clearly from there. Many people wanted to see a figure on Danding Cliff. At this moment, Night Sorrow was cultivating the wind-chasing spear art. Under the pressure from Danding Cliff, it was easier to find flaws and drawbacks in the cultivation of the spear art. Only by finding the flaws could he perfect it. Chapter 176. Reaching a height of 4,800 meters at the 6th level of element gathering tier, that's really unbelievable. Yi Xiling praised. Although she was a little depressed because she was not a member of Crepe Myrtle, she still had to acknowledge his excellence. Why didn't he continue? Go a little higher. Yang Lei said anxiously. She was looking forward to seeing Night Sorrow leave a better record for the future generations of Medicine Valley. At the same time, it would be a monument that would be passed down. Going too far is as bad as falling short. That place is suitable for him to cultivate. It's quite good, Jianghu said with a smile. He was really happy that Night Sorrow could reach a height of 4,800 meters and still know when to stop and cultivate diligently. Master, we'll go and try later, Xuning, who was standing beside Gongxian, said. No, don't come here to cultivate if you're not in the later stage of element gathering tier. Merit points are hard to come by. You have to cherish every opportunity to cultivate at Danding Cliff, Gongxian rejected directly. Master, merit points are too hard to earn. A sect mission only costs 2 to 3 points. Why is the price so high? Tang Tian could not help but ask. Because we can't damage the energy circulation of Danding Cliff. Don't ask any more. Gongxian turned around and glared at Tang Tian. There were many seniors in the sect. How could a junior disciple keep talking? They would be criticized for being unruly. It's nothing. Gongxian, tell them about the situation at Danding Cliff in detail. There's a reason why the sect set such a rule, the great elder said. Indeed, many disciples of Medicine Valley had the same question. Other than the senior disciples, ordinary people really did not know. Then, Gongxian's explanation made everyone understand. The energy of Danding Cliff came from the 8-dragon cauldron, which was the spiritual weapon of the sect. The energy was absorbed by Danding Cliff and returned to the 8-dragon cauldron. If the energy was absorbed by the cultivator, it would disappear. If too much energy disappeared, it would affect the 8-dragon cauldron. The Medicine Valley wouldn't take this risk. If the 8-dragon cauldron was affected, the medicine cauldron spiritual liquid would be gone. After Gongxian's explanation, everyone finally understood why the Medicine Valley was so strict with their disciples coming to Danding Cliff to cultivate. It was because there were too many implications. While Gongxian was explaining to everyone, Night Sorrow continued to meditate and cultivate. The examiners below also began to rush up. This was an opportunity for a carp to leap over the dragon's gate. Entering the Medicine Valley and not entering the Medicine Valley in the future would be completely different in terms of difficulty and achievement. These youths were all of high quality. They only felt the difficulty when they reached 1,800 meters. Hey, have you heard? Last year, there was a guy at the 3rd level of Qi refining who managed to reach 3,000 meters. How did he manage to reach that height? I'm already at the 6th level of Qi refining and I can't stand it anymore, a youth asked the person beside him. Of course I know. In order to prepare for this year's examination, I came to watch the ceremony last year. That person is called Night Sorrow. He is indeed at the 3rd level of Qi refining. He was one of the 26 people who entered the Medicine Valley last year. In the competition for the newcomers, he won the title of Newcomer's King, a girl in gorgeous tights said. That's amazing. You should know that most of the examiners are at the 7th or 8th level of Qi refining. He was only at the 3rd level of Qi refining for a year and he won the title of Newcomer's King. That's unbelievable, a youth standing on top of several people said. You know too little. I know his achievements. Not only is he the Newcomer's King, he is also the top of the Medicine Valley's Yuan gathering leaderboard. In other words, he is the most amazing person under the 3rd level of Medicine Valley. Do you understand? This time I'm going to join the Taishan Peak. Remember me, my name is He Miao, a girl in silk tights said. I'm also here for the Taishan Peak. The disciples of the Taishan Peak are very domineering. They are famous even in my hometown, a dignified youth who climbed up behind her said. Since all of you are going to join the Taishan Peak, then I'll go too. Maybe I can become the junior brother of the top of the Yuan gathering leaderboard? A guy took a break and quickly climbed up. Just give up on that idea. That Night Sorrow has already been accepted as the last disciple of the Taishan Peak's Peak Master. Oh right, the Taishan Peak's Peak Master is now the Valley Master. He is the last disciple of the Valley Master, He Miao said to that guy and quickly climbed up to surpass everyone. So he has such a strong background. No wonder he is so powerful, a youth in black said. Shut up. If you say anything bad about him, I will fall out with you. Hearing the words of the youth in black, He Miao immediately became unhappy. Chapter 177. Yes, someone is practicing with the spear. It's the Lord Night Sorrow you mentioned. Enlightenment curled his lips and said. Qiming curled his lips. He had only climbed to 4,200 meters, but Night Sorrow had already reached 4,800 meters. This deeply irritated him. How high did he climb? He can still practice with the spear? Asked the man in black. He was the one who said that Night Sorrow's achievements depended on his background. 4,800 meters. I heard what you said back then. Yi Shang's achievements today are all the result of his own hard work. It's not because he's someone's disciple. When he climbed 3,000 meters in the third level of Qi refinement, he hadn't joined the Medicine Valley yet. How high do you think you can climb if you control your cultivation to the third level of Qi refinement? Qiming asked the young man in black. That's amazing. Lord Enlightenment, what's Lord Night Sorrow's cultivation level now? He Miao asked excitedly. 6th level of element gathering tier. However, you can't judge this guy based on his cultivation level. He has already broken the record of climbing Danding Cliff in the element gathering tier. You all have to work hard in this direction, Enlightenment said. Qiming said. He was also saying this to himself. Originally he thought that he was on par with Yi Shang. Even if Yi Shang defeated Shi Yunxiao, he didn't think that he was much stronger than him. Today he knew that the gap between the two of them was huge. Soon the 4th test ended. The Medicine Valley sent out flying beasts to pick up the examinees who were hanging on Danding Cliff. The entrance ceremony of the Medicine Valley was also held at the foot of Danding Cliff. This time there were more than 600 people who passed the test. With so many people participating and the lowered standards, the number of people who passed was many times more than the previous test. Jianghu stood up and walked to the front of this group of people. I'm very happy to see that you all passed the entrance test. Now it's time for you to choose which peak to join. Those who choose Taishan Peak stand 10 feet to the east. Those who choose Ninein Peak stand 10 feet to the west. Those who choose Crepe Myrtle stand here and don't move, Jianghu announced. After Jianghu finished speaking, the examinees who passed the test began to riot and then split up. After that, the higher-ups of the Medicine Valley had different expressions on their faces. Some were smiling, some were surprised, and some were angry. Of the more than 600 people who passed the assessment, nearly 500 ran to the east. The remaining 100 people didn't move. Only a dozen people went to the west. There was also a good-natured young man who ran from the west to the east. At this time, Chu Lingxiao's body flashed and blocked in front of the dignified youth. Didn't you choose Ninein Peak? Why are you still running around? Replying to Lord, this disciple came to the Medicine Valley's apprenticeship ceremony for Taishan Peak. I don't distinguish between east, west, north, and south. I only know left and right. I just asked and found out that I ran in the wrong direction, the dignified youth said with some embarrassment. Many of the higher-ups of the Medicine Valley couldn't help but laugh. Nowadays there were still people who didn't distinguish between east, west, north, and south. Okay, you can go. Chu Lingxiao returned to his original position and glanced at Su Qinbai. It wasn't his fault that Ninein Peak couldn't accept disciples. It was Su Qinbai's fault for ruining its reputation. Valley Master, this won't do. We accepted 600 people, but 500 of them were taken by Taishan Peak. This doesn't make sense. Seeing that most of the disciples were taken by Taishan Peak, Yi Xiling was unwilling. This was also the reason why Chu Lingxiao didn't say anything. He knew that Yi Xiling would say something. Peak Master Yi, this is their own choice. No one forced them to choose Taishan Peak. We have to respect the disciples' wishes, Gong Xian said. Although his seniority was lower than Yi Xiling's, when it came to the interests of Taishan Peak, Gong Xian wasn't willing to back down. Don't tell me that if all the disciples choose Taishan Peak in the future, the other peaks won't accept disciples? Yi Xiling looked at Gong Xian and said with a glare. It's also a skill to be able to make a new disciple choose you. If you want to accept disciples, then you have to work hard to make a name for yourself. Gong Xian's voice wasn't loud, but his words were sharp. What he meant was that Taishan Peak had a reputation. If they wanted to accept disciples, then they had to make a name for themselves. You bastard, do you think I don't dare to teach you a lesson? Yi Xiling was angry. She was about to attack Gong Xian, her silver hair fluttering in the wind. Although Yi Xiling was very old, her silver hair was her signature. Her face looked like she was in her 30s. If Martial Ant wants to teach him a lesson, then Gong Xian will accept it. But when it comes to accepting disciples, we have to follow the rules. Gong Xian refused to back down. Original WP first 2 posts / Alright, stop arguing. Come here. Let me ask you, why did you join Taishan Peak? Grand Elder stopped Yi Xiling, who was about to flip out, and waved at He Miao. My lord, it's because Lord Night Sorrow is from Taishan Peak. He Miao bowed. Yes, he's here for 13. Of course we can't refuse him. Then come here. Why did you join Taishan Peak? Grand Elder asked, pointing at the dignified youth who had made a mistake. My lord, this disciple is from South Sky City. Taishan Peak has 2 lords from South Sky City. I've never heard of Ninein Peak. Crepe Myrtle is full of women. I won't go, the dignified youth said. You bastard who can't even differentiate between east, west, north, and south? Even if you gave us crepe myrtle, we wouldn't want you, Yi Xiling shouted angrily after hearing the youth's words. I can't differentiate between east, west, north, and south, but my father said that differentiating between left and right is enough. Also, I'm not a bastard, I'm called Xiang Ding. The youth looked at Yi Xiling with dissatisfaction. Alway wanted to laugh, but she held it in. She couldn't help but turn around and lean on Yang Lei. Her body kept twitching as she tried to hold back her laughter. What are you laughing at? There are no good people in Taishan Peak. If you don't want to be my crepe myrtle disciple, then give the one up there to my crepe myrtle. Yi Xiling pointed at the top of Danding Cliff. No. Impossible. Yi Xiling's words caused the 11 disciples under Taishan Peak Yu to react. They all stood up. Are you guys rebelling? Yi Xiling pointed at Wuxialover, Yang Lei and the rest. Xiling, you can't take Night Sorrow with you. He wouldn't even go to Danding Peak when the Valley Lord brought him there. If you want him to go to Crepe Myrtle, he definitely won't agree. The Great Elder laughed. How would I know if I don't ask? Crepe Myrtle will do its best to nurture him. Also, we have many female disciples in Crepe Myrtle. If we arrange 10 wives for him in the future, I don't believe he won't go. Yi Xiling looked at the female disciples behind her and said. Yi Xiling's words made the female disciples of Crepe Myrtle blush. Their peak lord was putting in a lot of effort and didn't even care about them. Chapter 178. How about this? All the female disciples will be taken away by Crepe Myrtle if there is no special reason. Yu said. If he didn't say anything, who knew what other things Yi Xiling would say? There are only 40 or 50 female disciples. Yi Xiling was still somewhat dissatisfied, but she didn't say anything against it. After all, Yu's words were the Valley Master's decree and couldn't be questioned. In the future, all the female disciples will be taken away by Crepe Myrtle if there is no special reason, Yu said to Yi Xiling. Crepe Myrtle thanks the Valley Master. Yi Xiling bowed to Yu. She knew that Yu was taking care of Crepe Myrtle. Valley Master, what about our Nine Peak? Seeing that the problem with Crepe Myrtle had been solved, Chu Lingxiao asked. This time you will take 200 people back. The rest will be taken by Taishan Peak. If you want the young people to yearn for it, then make Nine Peak famous. In the future, no one will be taken care of. From the next ceremony onwards, except for the female disciples who don't have any special requirements will be taken by Crepe Myrtle, everyone else will be subject to the opinions of the disciples. Yu said to Gong Xian. Yes, but Taishan Peak's fame isn't due to Peak Master Gong. Chu Lingxiao looked at Gong Xian and said. Taishan Peak was the biggest winner in this ceremony, so of course he was unhappy. Peak Master Chu Lingxiao, are you provoking Taishan Peak? Let's exchange pointers? Yang Lei stepped forward and looked at Chu Lingxiao with a smile on her face. She was now stronger than Chu Lingxiao, so she was confident that she could exchange pointers with him. Don't forget that you are now the mayor of Danding City, an elder of Medicine Valley, not an elder of Taishan Peak. Your territory is in Danding City. You have no business here. Chu Lingxiao glared at Yang Lei. Yang Lei pointed at Chu Lingxiao, but she couldn't refute him. Because once one became an elder of the Medicine Valley, he would belong to the entire Medicine Valley. Chu Lingxiao, I don't want to bully you, so don't cause trouble. No matter where my 9th junior sister is, she is still a member of Taishan Peak. Gong Xian stood up and said. Good. The sect needs this kind of competition. But I won't forgive anyone who goes overboard, the first elder said with a smile. The first elder is right. The sect needs competition. Only with competition can there be vitality. Xianxian, bring these new disciples back. When you have time, you can contact Night Sorrow. If he is willing to come to Crepe Myrtle, then what I said just now will be effective at any time. Yi Xiling glanced at Gong Xian, then turned and left. Before she left, she threw a bomb. She was going to continue to poach Night Sorrow. What did she say just now? As long as Night Sorrow went to Crepe Myrtle, she would arrange 10 wives for him. This made the other wolves jealous. What kind of treatment was this? It was a blessing. The crowd in front of Danding Cliff quickly dispersed. The new members were taken away by Taishan Peak, Nine Peak, and Crepe Myrtle. The higher-ups of Medicine Valley also left. This time the apprenticeship ceremony was over. Night Sorrow was still cultivating on top of Danding Cliff. He was now like a thirsty person who had encountered a sweet spring. He didn't need the help of medicinal pills at all, and he could achieve better results than medicinal pills. How could he not work hard? Hua Yunping had always seen Night Sorrow's hard work. This made him very satisfied and impressed. He had been the Valley Master for many years, but he had never seen a disciple with a temperament like Night Sorrow. Even his disciples Yi Shui and Chu Lingxiao couldn't compare. When his true qi and myriad Tao Tome's energy were exhausted, Night Sorrow meditated to recover. When he recovered, he continued to cultivate. When he was mentally exhausted, Night Sorrow inserted the reincarnation spear into the crevice of the pill tripod cliff and used his clothes to connect himself to the reincarnation spear. He laid on the platform and took a light nap. If he didn't do this, he was afraid that he would fall down. 6 or 7 days passed in this cultivation session. Every day there would be disciples from the Medicine Valley coming to the opposite mountain peak to see this freakishly awesome person. On the evening of the 7th day, Night Sorrow recovered and was about to practice his spear arts when Hua Yunping appeared. You should rest. Night Sorrow bowed to Hua Yunping and said, Disciple has about 300 merit points which can be used for 10 days. Disciple intends to use them all up before leaving. Hua Yunping smiled and told Night Sorrow that disciples who broke the record did not need to pay contribution points to cultivate at Danding Cliff. Ah, that's great, then I can come here to cultivate without any restrictions in the future. After hearing Hua Yunping's words, Night Sorrow was so excited that he almost jumped up. To him this was great news. Update new, soonest p***, you're so happy. Don't you feel tired? Hua Yunping asked. I'm a little tired. I've been worried about wasting time and wasting merit points, so I've been in a hurry to cultivate. Night Sorrow nodded. He was indeed a little tired, mentally tired. Very honest. On the path of cultivation you can't always be tense. You have to have a balance between tension and relaxation. Go back and rest for a while before coming back. Hua Yunping said to Night Sorrow. He knew that if he didn't stop him, Night Sorrow would continue to cultivate for a long time. He might even stay at Danding Cliff forever. Bowing to Hua Yunping, Night Sorrow placed the reincarnation spear behind his back and said, Disciple will return first. Hua Yunping smiled and said, Go on. Night Sorrow waved his arm and Xianhu appeared. Due to the impact of Danding Cliff's energy, Xianhu's height was reduced by 60 to 70 feet. Only when he was 20 feet away from Danding Cliff did Xianhu escape from the suppression of Danding Cliff's energy. Then he flew back to Night Sorrow's height. Night Sorrow violently struck his palm at Danding Cliff. Borrowing the rebounding force, he executed dragon leap steps and landed on Xianhu's back. With the pressure gone, Night Sorrow felt very relaxed. He roared to the sky and controlled Xianhu to leave. Full of youthfulness, it's good to be young. Looking at Night Sorrow's back, Hua Yunping muttered softly. Night Sorrow controlled Xianhu and flew towards Danding Peak. He wanted to greet Jianghu first before returning to Taishan Peak. In the main hall of Danding Peak, Night Sorrow saw Jianghu and the Great Elder. Disciple greets Master and Great Elder. Night Sorrow bowed to Jianghu and the Great Elder. Not bad, you're not far from the 7th level of Element Gathering Tier. Once you reach the 7th level of Element Gathering Tier, you can eat the Element Gathering Pill and go to Danding Cliff to consolidate your cultivation. Soon you'll be able to reach the 8th level of Element Gathering Tier. Jianghu looked at Night Sorrow and nodded in satisfaction. 13. There are actually many things you can do other than cultivating. You're not familiar with the Medicine Valley. If you have nothing to do, you should walk around and relax. Crepe Myrtle even invited you over. If you have time, go take a look. There are good things waiting for you. The Great Elder said with a smile. At the same time, he left a trap for Night Sorrow. Chapter 179. Crepe Myrtle? Oh, I've seen Crepe Myrtle's Lanyu before, but I'm not too familiar with her. Since she invited me, I'll go and take a look. Night Sorrow nodded. Alright, go back. Let your 6th senior sister arrange a good meal for you. You haven't even had a full meal these past few days, Jianghu said. Alright, then I'll go back first. Night Sorrow nodded and left Danding Palace. He rode on Xianhu and flew towards Taishan Peak. Great Elder, isn't this a trap for 13? If he goes to Crepe Myrtle, can he handle Peak Lord Ye's forces? Jianghu looked at Great Elder and asked. 13 has no problems in other areas, but in the area of women he needs to go through some tests. That way he won't be taken advantage of in the future. I believe in his determination, Great Elder said with a smile. Jianghu shook his head helplessly. When Great Elder said that, he knew that it was a trap, but he didn't remind Night Sorrow. He knew that Great Elder had a reason for saying that. It was just as he had guessed. After returning to Taishan Peak, Night Sorrow went straight to the Bamboo Grove house. It wasn't convenient to go there. In the Bamboo Grove house, Night Sorrow saw Aoi, Yanglei, Huanan, and Gong Xian as well as a few dozen newcomers. Only C Yijing edition $F, He G, are all robbers WM edition Phi 13. You're back. Your cultivation level is rising fast enough. You're not far from the 7th level of element gathering tier, Gong Xian greeted him. Cultivating at Danding Cliff, my cultivation level is rising fast. However, the elders of the sect don't want me to stay there forever, Night Sorrow said with a nod. Today, 6th senior sister will arrange good food and wine to reward you. Shenrong, bring them over to greet Martial Uncle 13, Aoi called out to her eldest disciple, Shenrong. Now that Shenrong had leveled up, he had many junior brothers and 2 junior sisters under him. Everyone, come over quickly and pay your respects to 13th Martial Uncle. Shenrong shouted at the group of newcomers. Night Sorrow was not used to more than 20 bows. He even wanted to bow back. Fortunately, Aoi stopped him. It would be funny if a martial uncle bowed back to his martial nephew. Seeing that Night Sorrow was not used to it, Aoi sent the disciples to the side. 13 Taishan Peak is accepting disciples this time. I didn't make any arrangements for you, and you don't have the energy to teach others right now, Gong Xian stated his decision. Thank you, eldest senior brother. If you really arranged it for me, then I would really be finished. How can I teach others now? I need others to guide me in my own cultivation. I don't want them in the future. Night Sorrow directly expressed his opinion. He didn't want a group of burdens following behind him. Okay, what's your next plan? Gong Xian looked at Night Sorrow and asked. I spent more than 10 days on the mission last time. After that, I came back to participate in the disciple recruitment ceremony. I stayed at Danding Cliff for 7 to 8 days. It's almost the beginning of the month. I plan to go to Danding City to accept a mission and raise my level in Tianji Tower to silver in one go. Night Sorrow made his decision. He wanted to raise his level in Tianji Tower as much as possible. But you have to be careful. We'll go to Danding City together tomorrow. Yang Lei agreed with Night Sorrow's decision. It's okay. 9th senior sister, you still have to take care of the disciples. I'll go by myself. Night Sorrow shook his head and refused. It's okay. Let Jiang Ziming bring the newcomers to my mansion tomorrow. Yang Lei said. While the few of them were chatting, Qingji's maidservants and Odd Job's disciples had already served the food and wine. I really need to have a good meal. Night Sorrow sat down and started eating. He didn't hold back when he was with his senior brothers and sisters. Aoi then called for the servants to serve the 100 herbs wine. After asking around, Aoi heard that Night Sorrow didn't have any more 100 herbs wine and green blood wine. Aoi then asked the servants to bring in a few jars for Night Sorrow. 6th junior sister, if old 7 and old 8 knew about this, I don't know what they would say about you. They all want your good wine. Gong Xian said with a smile. Come over if you want a drink. 13 goes out often. The green carrot leopard bone wine should be ready in 2 days. Aoi said. By the way, do you have any more blood essence pills? They're quite effective for me. Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Yes, these are all for you. But I don't have the recipe. I don't know how to make them. Night Sorrow took out his remaining blood essence pills and placed them on the table as he ate. I don't need them. 9th junior sister, you practice heaven covering hand. You should use more. Xuanhuan said. I'll break down the blood essence pills tomorrow and see what materials they're made of. If it goes well, our Taishan Peak can use these pills to strengthen the bodies of disciples who enter the 3rd rank. Always said. Senior sister, if the blood essence pills can be used, why can't the leopard embryo muscle strengthening pill? Night Sorrow put down his chopsticks and asked after filling his stomach. It's different. It has a completely different effect. After we consume the blood essence pills, we can absorb a portion of the energy and strengthen our bodies. This requires a foundation of the 3rd rank. The leopard embryo muscle strengthening pill is too strong. It can't be absorbed at all. It's useless even if you enter the 4th rank. Aoi explained to Night Sorrow. Hearing Qingji's words, Yishang understood. Without a relatively strong body and cultivation method, not to mention the leopard embryo muscle strengthening pill, even the blood essence pill wouldn't be able to be refined. This was also the reason why one had to be at the 3rd tier to use the blood essence pill. After drinking with everyone for a while, Night Sorrow went to rest. This time it was just a simple rest. He was mentally exhausted these past few days. After resting for a night, he got up and practiced his spear techniques. Night Sorrow saw Yang Lei coming over. Let's have breakfast and then we'll leave. Okay. At this moment, Night Sorrow remembered the Great Elder's words. Crepe Myrtle had invited him. However, he felt that he could go after completing the mission. It wouldn't delay anything. After eating breakfast, Yang Lei told Jiang Ziming something. Then she and Night Sorrow rode Tianyu and the Green Condor to Danding City. After arriving at Yang Lei's mansion in Danding City, Night Sorrow asked the servants to feed Tianyu. Then he got up and went to Qinji Tower. Seeing Night Sorrow, the receptionist who looked down on Night Sorrow sent Night Sorrow to the top floor where Enforcer Dong was. It's the end of the month, not the beginning of the month. Did you remember the wrong date? Seeing Night Sorrow, Enforcer Dong felt a little strange. I know it's the end of the month. I'm here today to invite Enforcer Dong for a drink. We'll talk about the mission tomorrow. Night Sorrow found a seat and sat down. Okay. Enforcer Dong put down what he was doing and sat down opposite Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow took out a jar of 100 herbs wine and some jerky and placed them on the table. Not bad. You broke the record of Danding Cliff in the Medicine Valley for thousands of years. That's very impressive. Enforcer Dong said with a smile. Chapter 180. The Celestial Terminus Tower is well informed. Without a channel, how can they issue missions and collect mission information? But they don't have any bad intentions, Enforcer Dong said with a smile. Let's not talk about their bad intentions. This ability is really creepy. Tianji Tower doesn't participate in the power struggle in various regions. If they did, who would be a match for Tianjin Tower? Besides, just because they don't fight for power now doesn't mean they won't fight for power in the future. Night Sorrow was quite touched. But after thinking about it, he felt that when he climbed Danding Cliff, there were many people watching the ceremony. It was normal for Tianjin Tower to know about the news. Night Sorrow, work harder. You won't have any problems in Black Tower, Enforcer Dong said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. This was what he was working towards. Another reason he came here was to see if there was a letter from Sikong Chuyu. However, he didn't ask because there was no need. If there was a letter, Enforcer Dong would tell him. Since he didn't say anything, it meant that there wasn't a letter. After drinking a jar of wine with Enforcer Dong, Night Sorrow left. Before he left, he used a low-grade spiritual stone to exchange for a yin-yang formation diagram. Although he was a little disappointed that there was no letter from Sikong Chuyu, it didn't affect Night Sorrow's mood. You're back, Yang Lei greeted when she saw Night Sorrow coming back. Senior sister, I have something to discuss with you, Night Sorrow said. Yang Lei nodded and took Night Sorrow to the study of her mansion. She knew that Night Sorrow wouldn't be so serious if it wasn't something important. In Yang Lei's study, Night Sorrow told her that he wanted to go to Lushan Venerable's cave residence. That's fine too. You go and accept the mission tomorrow, and then senior sister will accompany you. Yang Lei nodded. In the past, she had been worried about Yishang's safety and did not want him to go. However, now that Yishang had grown up, it was easy for accidents to happen. If a cultivator with heaven-defying luck appeared, they might discover the location of Lushan Supremacy's cave abode. At that time, Yishang's opportunity would be theirs. After resting for a night, Yishang went to the Extreme Heaven Tower early in the morning. Yishang once again met acquaintances. These acquaintances were none other than Qin Zhan and Kong Jun. Yishang didn't pay attention to the two and directly brought them to the entrance to wait. Martial uncle, are you serious? When Night Sorrow was resting with his eyes closed, Xuanhuan appeared. When he saw Night Sorrow, he was a little depressed. I'm sorry, but I'll just sweep the place once more. I won't fight with you guys anymore. By the way, how's your brother? Night Sorrow asked Xuanhuan apologetically. He has already broken through to rank 3. He will probably go to Danding Cliff to cultivate in the near future. He won't come out to do any missions, Xuanhuan said. Congratulate him for me. After saying that, Night Sorrow saw the door of Tianji Tower open and walked in. Night Sorrow had just entered when he heard a commotion coming from behind. Why are you squeezing? It was Xuanhuan's voice. Xuanhuan had a conflict with Qin Zhan and Kong Jun. We came first. Kong Jun said. Believe it or not, I'll follow you every day. Every time you do a mission, I'll disrupt it, Xuanhuan said. Are you trying to scare me? Kong Jun said coldly. You can try. Why don't you go in first and let me have a look? Xuanhuan really stepped aside. Well, if you want to go in, then go in quickly. Qin Zhan pulled Kong Jun and said to Xuanhuan. His face was very ugly. He knew that Xuanhuan would really do it. If he provoked Xuanhuan, then his life would not be easy. Kid, you're still too inexperienced. You found the wrong person to play with me. Yunhai despised Qin Zhan and Kong Jun and entered the lobby of Tianji Tower. Senior brother? Kong Jun looked at Qin Zhan puzzledly. Be quiet in the future. Don't provoke people if you don't have anything to do. Keep your eyes open. Qin Zhan snapped at Kong Jun. He was annoyed in his heart. If it wasn't for Qin Hai provoking Night Sorrow, he wouldn't have lost face. Now even Luo Daoyuan didn't like him. Night Sorrow saw Enforcer Dong as soon as he entered the lobby of Tianji Tower. Enforcer Dong waved at Night Sorrow and brought Night Sorrow to the counter. Try harder. This time it's almost done. Enforcer Dong said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. He gestured with his fingers and accepted the bronze difficulty. He didn't stop until he felt that there was no problem to promote to silver. As for the black iron difficulty, he didn't touch it because the enlightenment was coming. Enforcer Dong, I still want to exchange for some middle-grade spirit stones. Can I exchange them here? Night Sorrow asked after accepting the task. There's no problem in exchanging high-grade spirit stones for low-grade spirit stones. However, the ratio of low-grade spirit stones for high-grade spirit stones is different from the normal ratio. Enforcer Dong said. Okay, according to the normal ratio we will use the ratio. Night Sorrow had a lot of low-grade spirit stones. During this period of time, he had done bronze tasks and received a lot of spirit stones as a reward. Low-grade spirit stones were used for alchemy or to arrange some simple arrays. They weren't too precious. However, high-grade spirit stones were different. Cultivators above rank 5 could absorb the energy of spirit stones to cultivate. However, high-grade spirit stones were too rare. No one could afford to use spirit stones for cultivation. Moreover, rank 5 cultivators were very rare. After Yi Shang had saved enough low-grade spirit stones for alchemy, he exchanged his low-grade spirit stones for mid-grade spirit stones. He now had more than 40 pieces. After doing this, Night Sorrow left Tianji Tower and returned to the City Lord's mansion to find Yang Lei. It was time to go out. Yang Lei needed to arrange things. When Night Sorrow arrived, Yang Lei had already finished her work. She then left the City Lord's mansion with Night Sorrow. The two of them got on the Qianyu and the Green Eagle and left. Enforcer Dong stood in the attic of Tianji Tower and saw everything clearly. He hoped that Night Sorrow would complete the task on his own. Since he had been promoted to purple, the Tianji Tower had sent people to verify whether the task was done by Night Sorrow himself. This would affect the evaluation of the Tianjin Tower on Night Sorrow. During the flight, Night Sorrow told Yang Lei that they would go to Lu Shan to complete the task first. I'll follow your arrangements. I don't know what Lu Shan the Venerable left behind. However, seeing that he used an array to seal the entrance, it means that he left something important behind, Yang Lei said. I don't know what level this Venerable Lu Shan is at. However, no matter how heaven-defying his cultivation base is, he was still buried by history. Night Sorrow said with a sigh. You don't know about this. A 5th-grade cultivator is an expert. Only a 6th-grade cultivator can be called a venerable. In other words, Venerable Lu Shan is a 6th-grade cultivator. However, it's hard to say what level he is at. Besides, no one can say for sure whether he is dead or alive. You should know that a 6th-grade cultivator will have a long lifespan. Yang Lei then told him about the lifespan of a cultivator. Qi refining realm cultivators were the same as ordinary cultivators. There was not much difference between them. A Qi gathering realm cultivator would have a lifespan of around 130 years. A core formation realm cultivator would have a lifespan of 200 years. A spirit severing realm cultivator would have a lifespan of 300 years. A void inquiry stage cultivator would have a lifespan of 500 years. A 6th-grade vast heaven realm cultivator would have a lifespan of 800 years. It was conceivable that it was not easy for a cultivator to die of old age. Chapter 181. It's hard to say. Yang Lei shook her head. I've checked the information. Lu Shan the Venerable was a figure from 2,000 years ago. It's been 2,000 years. Unless he enters the 7th rank, he must be dead. Night Sorrow told her what he knew. Then he must be dead because after so many years, no one has been able to reach the 7th step. Even those who have reached the 6th step are rare. Do you know how the 7 great forces are evaluated? It's because they have venerables even if they are low-level venerables. As long as a force has a venerable, it's a super force. Of course, there are different levels of venerables. Yang Lei said to Night Sorrow. Senior sister, according to what you said, the 7 super forces in the Eastern Profound Domain all have venerables, but there are no venerables in the Medicine Valley. Is that right? Night Sorrow asked. 9 Moxinu chapter and our Supra. 6K, it's like this. The Holy Cauldron scripture in the Medicine Valley has been lost, and the Heavenly Cauldron scripture is also incomplete. It means that after cultivating to the peak of the 4th rank, it's extremely difficult to enter the 5th rank, let alone the 6th rank. The venerables in the sect are all extremely talented people. They entered the 5th rank by fumbling around. After entering the 5th rank, they cultivated according to the incomplete scripture. Of course, their cultivation speed is slow, and they have no hope of entering the 6th rank. Yang Lei said. Without a 6th rank venerable, the sect has to be careful. Night Sorrow nodded. It's not like the sect doesn't have talented members. Do you know why Grand Elder Hua didn't manage the affairs of the valley a few years ago and was still the valley master? Yang Lei looked at Yi Shang and asked. Night Sorrow obviously didn't know. After Yang Lei explained, Night Sorrow finally understood. Originally, Hua Yunpeng was the peak lord of Wuwei Peak. The current peak lord was his junior brother, Han Dang. Yi Shui was his disciple and so was Chu Lingxiao. Hua Yunpeng was the most promising person in the Medicine Valley to reach the 6th level, so the Grand Elder helped him to the position of Valley Lord, even though he was not good at managing the affairs of the valley. However, decades had passed and Hua Yunpeng was still stuck at the bottleneck of the peak of the 5th rank, unable to advance any further. Therefore, the sect's Grand Elders and the Valley Master had discussed and decided to appoint Yu Yangyu as the Valley Master. First of all, Yu Yangyu was the member of the Medicine Valley who had the highest chance of reaching the 6th rank other than Hua Yunpeng. Only by becoming the Valley Master could he use some of the forbidden resources of the Medicine Valley. Does that mean Grand Elder Hua has no hope of entering the 6th order? Night Sorrow was a little disappointed. Wrong, but there is hope. I heard from the Grand Elder that Grand Elder Hua is already half a step into the 6th rank. The only thing he needs is his state of mind. It has nothing to do with resources, so he vacated the position. The main reason is that you took back the Sacred Cauldron scripture, which gave him the opportunity to break through. It's the same for the others. Otherwise, do you think Grand Elder Brother and I could enter the 5th rank so easily? Yang Lei said with a smile. I see. I understand. I hope Master and Grand Elder Hua can enter the 6th rank as soon as possible. Then, the Medicine Valley won't have to listen to the Golden Flame sect anymore, Night Sorrow said as he waved his arm vigorously. This is an absolute secret. You can't leak any information. The 7 superpowers often carry out the dragon-slaying plan. As long as there is a chance of entering the 6th rank, they will send experts to eliminate them to reduce the threat and consolidate their ruling position, Yang Lei said to Night Sorrow. They're that despicable? Night Sorrow's expression turned ugly. The world was simply too cruel. They aren't just hunting cultivators who have a chance of breaking through to the 6th rank. They are also hunting talented seedlings. So, I hope you can attract Tianji Tower's attention and get Black's attention as soon as possible. When that time comes, the 7 superpowers will have to think twice before making a move against you. They won't be able to bear the consequences of angering Tianji Tower, Yang Lei said to Night Sorrow. Yi Shang nodded. He really did not expect that there would be so many complicated relationships in between. Soon they arrived at Night Sorrow's quest location. Yang Lei waited while Night Sorrow went to complete his quest. In the Golden Flame mountain range, hundreds of thousands of miles away from the Medicine Valley, many people had gathered in the Golden Flame sect's main hall. Qi Tiansheng and Zhan Qinghe were among them. Vice Sect Master, now that the Footloose Sect and Southern Dipper Sect have calmed down, can we make a move against the Medicine Valley? Qi Tiansheng stepped forward and bowed. The old man in embroidered robes sitting in the main seat did not speak. Instead, he looked at the Golden Flame sect's upper echelons. He was the Golden Flame sect's Vice Sect Master, Zhan Tianyi. Zhan Peng was his direct descendant. The Medicine Valley is very arrogant, but we can't be sure if the Southern Dipper Sect, Footloose Sect, and the Medicine Valley have reached some kind of agreement. Otherwise, the Southern Dipper Sect and Footloose Sect would have pressured us when we tried to make a move against the Medicine Valley. Most of the Southern Dipper Sect's main force is in the Blue Cloud Mountain range. They are definitely not bluffing, an elder said. Well, Elder Song's words are reasonable. This matter needs to be investigated. Let's wait for the news from the Southern Dipper Sect and Footloose Sect spies, Zhan Tianyi said. The Medicine Valley is still a subordinate force of the Golden Flame sect. We don't need to worry too much. First, we need to deal with the situation of the Southern Dipper Sect and Footloose Sect. In addition, the news from the Medicine Valley says that the Medicine Valley is really going to fight to the death. Is the news true? A female elder stood up and asked. This news can't be wrong. This is what makes the Medicine Valley difficult to deal with. They are a group of lunatics. If we go a little overboard, they will immediately fight back. Xianxia slapped the armrest of the chair and growled. We still need to stabilize the situation before dealing with them. Even if we take them down forcefully, our strength will be greatly damaged. It's better to deal with them properly when the forces under the sect are fighting. Since they are a subordinate sect, then we can kick them out of the ranking and control them with resources, an old man with a hooked nose said coldly. He was the law enforcement elder of the Golden Flame sect, xuanhuan. Let's do that first. I will send people to the Footloose sect to see what they want. The Southern Dipper sect thinks that they are strong and act domineeringly. However, the Footloose sect is not much stronger than our Golden Flame sect. What qualifications do they have to declare war on us? Xianxia roared with some annoyance. This was human nature. The Southern Dipper sect was stronger than the Golden Flame sect, so they could accept a declaration of war. It was normal for them to fight. The Footloose sect was about the same as the Golden Flame sect. Therefore, the Footloose sect sent people to the border area and wanted to fight. This made Xianxia a little uncomfortable. Following Xianxia's words, the people in the hall all left, leaving only Xianxia and xuanhuan. Vice Sect Master Qinbai sent a letter a while ago. He seems to have been taken over by the Medicine Valley, xuanhuan said. It shouldn't be the intention of the Medicine Valley. If they were really sure, then xuanhuan wouldn't be safe and sound. Besides, even if they found out, they wouldn't dare to do anything to Qinbai. Could it be that they really want to declare war on our Golden Flame sect? Xianxia said after thinking for a while. Chapter 182. Su Qinbai was his younger cousin, a member of the Su family. Now that there was a risk, he wanted to summon Su Qinbai back to prevent any accidents. However, Xianxia refused several times. Now that the sect master was in seclusion, Xianxia was in charge of the Golden Flame sect. Even though he was the law enforcement elder, he couldn't directly disobey. He even suspected that Xianxia was trying to attack the Su family's power. The Golden Flame sect's power was formed by families. It was a gathering of several big families, and there were marriages and other relationships. The two biggest families in the Golden Flame sect were the Su family and the Zhan family. The sect master was the Su family's head, Su Ruokong, and the vice sect master was the Zhan family's head, Xianxia. Now that Xianxia didn't allow Su Qinbai to be summoned back, xuanhuan was a little annoyed, but he couldn't do anything. Xianxia glanced at xuanhuan and left the meeting hall. He knew what xuanhuan wanted, but for the sake of the Golden Flame sect, he wouldn't agree. Night Sorrow used half a month to finish all the missions on hand. In this half a month, Night Sorrow and Yang Lei ran tens of thousands of miles. Other than completing all the missions, Night Sorrow also raised his chi cultivation to the peak of the 6th level of Element Gathering Realm and the peak of the 4th level of Muscle Strengthening Realm of the Myriad Dao Treasured Book. The reason he could cultivate so quickly was because of the foundation he had tempered at Danding Cliff. After completing all the missions, Night Sorrow didn't feel any pressure and planned to break through first. He wanted to break through the Myriad Dao Treasured Book, but he wasn't in a hurry to break through his chi. When his chi reached the 7th level of Element Gathering Realm, he could eat chi-boosting pills and reach the peak of the 7th level of Element Gathering Realm, so he didn't lack time. However, the Myriad Dao Treasured Book was different. Night Sorrow didn't have any pills to directly raise his cultivation. He had to do it step by step, so time was more important. Yongvi be free. Read novels MZ. There was still a day's distance from Lu Mountain. Night Sorrow told Yang Lei his idea. Okay, your cultivation is solid, so there's no point in suppressing it. You can break through tonight. Hearing that Night Sorrow was about to break through, Yang Lei was only happy. She came out to accompany Night Sorrow. She had nothing else to do and there was no delay. Using a single night's time, Night Sorrow strengthened the small veins in his hands and feet, entering the 5th level of the tendon strengthening realm. When the Myriad Daoist scripture reached the 6th level of the muscle strengthening realm, it strengthened the meridians in his shoulders and connected the dragon tendons in his back to the tendons in his arms. Entering the 7th rank of the muscle strengthening realm was to strengthen the waist tendons, connecting the dragon tendons to the tendons in the legs. The 8th rank of the muscle strengthening realm was to strengthen the tendons in the chest and abdomen. Level 9 strengthened the meridians in the neck, allowing the energy in the torso to circulate more smoothly. When all the meridians in his head were strengthened, he would enter the 3rd realm of the Myriad Tao Treasured Tome, the bone tempering realm. Now that he had reached the 5th level of the tendon-strengthening realm, the strength of Night Sorrow's hands and legs had increased. After leveling up, Night Sorrow stretched his body. He leaped up and punched the ancient tree. Pung! Night Sorrow's punch shattered the tree. There wasn't the slightest injury on his hand. He then kicked out, and with an explosive sound, a 3-chi-wide boulder was shattered by Night Sorrow's kick. You don't feel pain? Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow with some astonishment. It doesn't hurt. After leveling up, the strength of my hands and legs increased by quite a bit. We can set off for Lu Mountain now, Night Sorrow said as he stretched lazily. Yang Lei shook her head. She had originally thought that Night Sorrow was about to break through to the 7th level of Element Gathering tier. Now she understood that wasn't the case. Night Sorrow had broken through to the 7th level of Element Gathering tier. Sitting on Qianyu's back, Night Sorrow stabilized his cultivation base at the 5th level of Muscle Strengthening realm. Although Qianyu's speed wasn't as fast as the Azure Condor, he wasn't too far behind. Night Sorrow didn't have to worry about running out of energy. Yang Lei told Night Sorrow that Qianyu was already at the 3rd level of Core Condensation tier. His cultivation speed was extremely fast. The two of them arrived at Lu Mountain Range in the evening. According to Night Sorrow's map, they arrived at the venerable Lu Mountain's Immortal Cave. However, because it was already late, Yang Lei suggested that they go tomorrow. It was hard to predict what would happen in a 6th-level Venerable's Immortal Cave. Yang Lei didn't want any accidents to happen. After starting a fire, Night Sorrow chatted with Yang Lei while roasting the deer that Qianyu had caught. 13, you're 16 now. There's definitely hope that you can enter the Core Condensation tier before you turn 17. This speed will definitely shock the world. In the history of Medicine Valley, the fastest cultivator entered the Core Condensation tier at the age of 17. You should know that they started much earlier than you. Let's not talk about bone age. In fact, you started cultivating at the age of 15. The children of high-ranking members of Medicine Valley started cultivating at the age of 10. Everyone knows the difference between the two, Yang Lei said with a smile. Night Sorrow was already 16. Because he cultivated the 10,000 Tao Tome, his body grew very fast. He was already taller than Yang Lei and was about the same height as an ordinary man. Although his body didn't look burly, it contained a terrifying power. When I go back and break through to the 7th level of Gathering Element, I can reach the peak of the 7th level of Gathering Element after taking the Spirit Strengthening Elixir. Then I can continue cultivating at Danding Cliff. In this way I can reach the peak of Gathering Element by this year. But it's hard to say if I can enter the Core Condensation tier. Night Sorrow cut the food and gave a piece to Yang Lei. He kept some for himself and gave the rest to Qianyu. There's a gap between the peak of Gathering Element and the Core Condensation tier. Many individual cultivators are stuck here for their whole lives. There are also many elite disciples in Medicine Valley who are stuck here. You have to be careful. Don't enter the fake Core Condensation tier. That will delay things, Yang Lei said to Night Sorrow. I'll be careful. Yishang nodded. He was still a bit anxious in his heart. If he could enter the Core Condensation stage before the age of 17, then with the addition of being the owner of the Extreme Heaven Tower's silver level token, he should be able to become the Extreme Heaven Tower's Black Eye. What are you thinking about? Yang Lei saw that Night Sorrow was a little absent-minded, so she waved her hand in front of Night Sorrow's eyes. Night Sorrow reached out and slapped Yang Lei's hand away. I didn't sleep. 13, you really don't know how to be gentle with a woman. How can you hit my hand like this? By the way, do you know that Crepe Myrtle wants you to go there? Yang Lei rubbed her hand and asked. I heard from the Great Elder that they want me to go there. I've only met Lan Yu and Huang Qian a few times, so I'm not very familiar with them, Night Sorrow said. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Yang Lei smiled. I didn't expect the Great Elder to trick people. Yang Lei then told him the conditions that Yi Xiling wanted to recruit Night Sorrow. 10 wives? Ah, forget it. I'm not going to Crepe Myrtle. I thought it was a real invitation. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Don't you know that Crepe Myrtle is a beautiful woman? Yang Lei rolled her eyes at Night Sorrow and said. I've always been with 6th senior sister and 9th senior sister. In my eyes there are no other beauties, Night Sorrow said with a smile. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.